Welcome back to another episode of CarpetPython TV from midday Australia time. I'm not sure what I think. I think the other guys are. It's at 9 o'clock at night in the US where they are. Yeah, 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock. I can see them here, so they can just. What was the fingers that you showed me there, Eric? Or Owen? 9 o'clock. It is 9 o'clock. Yes. G'day. So, without any ado, let's just jump over to the screen. Let me just unmute everybody. Sorry, hang on. Unmuting, unmuting, unmuting. G'day, lads.
Morning.
How are you? How are we all doing?
Evening.
Oh,
Started already, have we?
You're wrong. Yeah.
welcome to the show. It's about time that we do one of these across the pond gatherings. Because we all share one big passion in life, and it's Morelia. I think that's what makes our Arctics. The Americans have a little bit more of a flexibility with what they can like. Us Australians, or not. You notice I'm in the middle of this, so I'm going to be I'm not party to. I'm unbiased in this whole discussion.
Peacekeeper.
I'm the peacekeeper, and I've experienced reptile keeping on either side of the, in Australia and outside and abroad. So, just let me introduce everybody. Top left on your screens is Owen McIntyre from Rogue Reptiles. He's one of the. I actually managed to put the two bearded men at the top here.
It worked out that way. Yeah, that was good.
There we go.
That was good.
Yeah, and I just noticed that. So, Owen is part of Morelia Python Radio, and just below Owen is Eric Burke. He's also part of Morelia Python Radio. Guys, just how many? So for those of you that don't know, Morelia Python Radio is how many years old is Morelia Python Radio this year?
9.
Nine.
Yeah, bloody, it's long. Yeah. How many shows? All up?
Lots.
400 and. Oh.
Come on.
420.
I thought we got that 20. I thought it was a little bit, whatever.
You know, you've done
Once
it.
you get past 400, you stop counting.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it's just,
it's human years long. Yeah, let's just go there.
You can listen to an episode every day for
a year
and then some. Yeah.
Just wanted to say welcome. I appreciate you guys taking the time to come on here. As we laughed about it earlier, it's not like we've got anything else to do on Friday nights anymore. Life sort of ended at the moment. You've got the rides to keep you busy. You have to make sure your house is safe, all that stuff. Right. I'm trying to make light work of a tough situation. And then on the Australian panel, we've got Brent Smith from KHP Reptiles and Darren Whittaker from Morelia by Design. That's nice. A nice intro. So, all men of stature according to me at least, in the Morelia industry. What's this? Oh, here we go. The little Aussie. It starts. The little notepads out. Welcome, guys. We did have a quick get together last night to do a bit of Morelia chat. I find it's good for the soul to talk about these things with other, issues of our time with other Morelia keepers, and I think we have a lot of things in common from different sides of the world.
Yeah, I would say so.
So you guys are in egg laying season, and we sort of just heading into pairing season.
Egg hatching season.
Actually hatching season.
They're popping out now. So
yeah, so I think. I'm not sure what I don't have a strict agenda of what we're going to discuss. I think there'll be a lot of taking the piss out of each other. Let's start with Darren, because Darren's a good one to start these type of things. You've met these guys before. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was. When was that? Probably 3 or 4 years ago.
I don't remember, but I remember moving something and Darren pushed me at I was walking and not paying attention, and Darren full on hockey checked me into a table. So that happened.
I wouldn't do it.
He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't. Yeah. So I remember that.
So that was a good trip. No, that was a real eye opener for me, as I kind of touched on last night. But to get to meet these guys and a few of the other Jason Bale and a few other carpet guys over there was great, because you message people on Facebook, you listen to the shows and all that sort of stuff. But to go over and meet them and know that they're just as nuts about the same thing as you are, and just as passionate, and to be able to share, knowledge and what they're doing and what you're doing and how they've created animals and what combinations and all that sort of stuff. It was awesome. Aside from the, for me, what we call exotics out here, to see all the other. I still remember Matt Minatola was there with his striped blood pythons, and like he's like, yeah, hold some. I'm like, oh, like just like God, I wish I could have some of those things. But yeah, so it was a real eye opener and just a good bunch of guys. I never met one, you know, bad person, so to speak, over there. Everyone I spoke to during the few days we were at Tinley Park were all welcoming and having a chat and more than happy to, you know, pull out animals and let you touch and feel and play, which was awesome. I don't know whether the guys know, but over here with our shows, we're not allowed to do that for our
Health
national
reasons.
parks and quarantine reasons. But over there, it was just brilliant. You got to meet, as I said last night, like Todd Dyer and a few other guys. It's unreal. Definitely a bucket list to go back again.
It definitely is something at these. It's a very different environment meeting at expos because people aren't behind the screen. It's a lot more friendly. You see the real. People won't say half the shit that they say on online in person. They just won't.
Yeah.
And it's a great environment. I've been to a few shows. I mean, I went down to Penrith for the first time in quite a few years this year, and it was just great. Guys chatting to each other the whole day. It's just a far more personalized experience coming at the expos. It's definitely something we spoke about last night. Was doing a trip over to the US with one of the sort of try and time it when. It's not too busy here with breeding season, sort of right in like egg hatching season for you guys, because that's sort of cooling season for us.
Trying to think what show that would be. I mean, there's a couple really big ones. Tinley Park obviously is a really good one.
Yeah.
But I haven't even been to some of the ones like out in Pomona or California or even Arlington, which those are the big ones, and those are really the good ones. But it does kind of take the piss out of you when the Aussies show up and you're like, I'm going to show them my CarpetPython, and they run to the blood table, and you're like, what?
Yeah,
really? Oh my god, a corn snake! And it's like, what the?
Oh,
are you kidding me? And you're like, yeah, it's.
That's the funniest thing you get here. When I got here originally, I could see people's faces light up about iguanas, green iguanas, just stock standard green iguana. And I used to go, green iguanas, yeah, veiled chameleons, what? Corn snakes. I'm like, oh, the world's you'd love it over in overseas. It's crazy, but it's funny how that works. It's great that you guys bring that up. It's carpet pythons to us are like. Yeah, we get to see that all the time, and it gets so many paint jobs that keep you excited, and then there's nothing like a big, stocky adult boa constrictor, but even a white one, and then you get striped ones, and it just goes nuts,
We had Peter Birch on the show, and we usually ask at the end of the show, what's one animal you want to keep? He's like, a tortoise. I'm like, what?
Yeah, true story.
I have one. Why? What the hell are you talking about? Yeah, no.
Right.
So, no.
True story.
That's just so it can mow his lawns. That's why.
Yeah, I mean,
handy.
I get it. So
the sounds perfect. I really am happy. I paid for the for the premium internet. It's good. We haven't dropped one frame. Sorry, I'm just watching all the specs, all the tech stuff here. It's all going really well.
Geeking out tech-wise.
Yeah. So I like seeing this stuff rolling and with no dropouts. We're not having any stuttering. But it could be that nobody's on the internet now in Australia. It helps, Isn't it an amazing time that we're living in? That we can. Where was it 10 years ago? I mean, I was involved with Peter Birch as well with the Reptile Radio Australia, and. Right. It's come a long way in the last 5 years. For people from across, how many thousand kilometers are you away? And it's almost like you're in the same place with us. I can't imagine what it's going to be 10 years from now. We might be able to teleport reptiles like Star Trek. I mean, you never know.
Then I want my silver peppers. I mean, that's what I want.
Well, because of
that technology happens.
Beam it over.
Because of the whole COVID thing, they started doing like virtual reptile shows.
I saw that.
And
Yeah.
I was talking to Garrett Hartle about from Reach Out Reptiles, and he was saying, he made a substantial amount of money, and he didn't even go to a show.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just did it online like we're doing now. You would just show your snakes, and
Just pull
Eric,
it
can
out
you-
for the world to see?
PayPal you.
Just raise it up and
yeah, like check this out.
look at this.
But
The curse.
so he made so he did okay at that, because I was wondering, people could. I guess the whole thing with that was that you probably needed a decent. Garrett would have gotten a real nice camera to do the video. I mean, that all plays part of it. I mean, you're not going to have a shitty webcam and hold the snake up and somebody's going to buy it. The more effort you put into something like that, the better.
Lighting would have to be a pretty crucial part of that.
What's that?
To show the snake in
Lighting.
its true colours.
Yeah.
Quality video.
Yeah.
It's the next step, because I mean, at one point in America, it was you got the list and it just had bullet points of each animal. And if you wanted pictures, they would mail you Polaroids, and then you'd be like, yes, good. And then you'd get the snake and it looked nothing like the picture or anything like that. This is what I'm told from Eric. I'm
I was going to
in my
say, you weren't even
30s.
around. What are you talking about?
No, I was no. No, but yeah, it's the next step where it's like it's using the technology to increase the reptile industry. So it's really cool to see that kind of stuff.
Do you guys think it's bringing? Do you guys think it's got? I mean, Owen said something before the show when we were waiting for everybody else to get their shit together. That's just a smart ass dig of me. Owen said something about. Do you think it will bring? Oh, what was I going to say? Shit, now I just hit a blank. Do you think it will bring people closer now that we've in a time to do? Like, this is a different medium, on camera. That was what you say. You don't come on camera often. But do you think it will bring the community closer in a different way, being able to see somebody on camera when it comes to selling animals? So it's not just on Facebook, you post a photo of a snake.
Yeah, I mean, I think so, because it's one of those things where, Eric and I aren't noticed until we start talking. And that's when people are like, "You're on the podcast." Like, I can slide through a reptile show if I just keep my mouth shut. Nobody knows I'm me. So it's one of those things where, as you do more, I'm like, we've seen people like Garrett really have success with web and YouTube places. Brian Barczyk, he's done a phenomenal thing with all that kind of stuff. And so there is recognition to the point where people who maybe aren't even as plugged into the reptile industry know who Brian Barczyk is.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that kind of stuff, and there's a lot of room for that kind of stuff. And it hopefully it'll help kind of lift up the whole industry, because you'll see people doing it correctly, and they'll show you what they do and move that on and get that going. I mean, that's the whole point of that we started with NPR, is nobody wants to listen to me and him down there talk. They just want to. We bring on people who can convey what they do and how they do it, and hopefully that teaches somebody.
And of course, and I was thinking about this earlier as well. You don't have to like somebody to not listen to their. I mean, information doesn't have. You get people. Some people don't watch this show because there's an issue between us, but at the end of the day, you're only doing yourself a disservice, because you could be learning, you could be getting valuable information from a show. I don't think information can be you can't discriminate against information if it's good information because of a person that's relaying that information. I think information, any type of information, as long as it's accurate, should be open to, you should be listening to this. You should take it on board and try and incorporate it into the way you do stuff. I think this week's show as well, you said, Owen, you and Eric keep the same species, but you keep some of them completely different.
Yeah.
Same with Darren and Brent. I know you guys do things totally different as well. I mean, there's the basics, but some stuff in what, like Darren last night said, his Murray Darlings used to you breed early in the season, and mine used to be November eggs laid November and hatching sort of late, like February, that time of year.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. How do you guys feel about it, Brett?
Yeah, I think a lot of people do different things in their collection. So there's a lot of different wins. There's so many ways to do it right in this game, and there's always the wrong ways too, which are wrong for everybody. But getting it right is so many angles. It might be the temps Darren keeps at compared to what I keep at. It's the hours those temps are on when you start changing temps.
Yeah.
So many ways to get a result. So you can get a lot of different results, a lot of them good. So, but it's great to share. I love listening to other people's ideas and trying new things. I certainly won't try it with everything. I'll think, oh, Darren had this great idea. I'll try, this little section over here and see what results come from that. So it's good to hear different stories from all over the world. It's very helpful.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's as soon as you bury your head in the sand and think, oh, this is the only way to do it, you stop learning. Once you stop learning, you may as well give up. There's just because I do it a certain way. I live in Sydney. Manice lives down in Victoria. It could be someone that lives up in Cairns. You got a tropical environment versus a cold one. I've got them in the garage where it gets freezing cold. You've got them in the lounge room where it's nice and warm. You've got them in a glass tank, a timber tank, plastic tank. Like there's so many variables. You've got floor heating, top heating. I think you're right. The basics are all the same, but you have to take into account your environment, your situation, the species you're keeping, if there's different environmental needs for that species, but keeping an open mind. Just because what you do works doesn't mean the other bloke doing it completely different doesn't work for them either. So, and sometimes it's quite like over the years, talking to people and, particularly going to the States, talking to the way people do over there, keep their animals. It really opens your mind to think, oh, geez, I didn't even think about that because I do it. This is the way I do it. And when someone suddenly goes, oh, but have you tried this or have you tried that? You think, oh, hang on, does that work? Yeah, it does. Oh, I'll give it a try. Like Brent said, there's so many variable ways to do it. It's never black and white, and you see so many arguments on Facebook over that sort of stuff as well.
It's like Eric said, he shovels snow into his enclosures to make it. That
was Eric, just totally Eric.
Snow, yeah. How many shovels are we talking? Because 2 shovels full or 6 shovels full, we got different parts of winter.
That's where the secrets are, man.
It's only for his tropical species, though.
Yeah, it's to shock them into breeding. Yeah.
Well, I think at least over here in the States, a lot of people will say that they don't drop temperatures to breed or anything like that, and they don't realize that their room drops temps just on its own, without any, even though you think you're not doing anything, but sure, there's fluctuations within that room. And it's really knowing the rhythm of the room.
It reminds me
how your room works.
Sorry to talk over you there. Sorry, mate. It reminds me of the year where everybody tried to do the Terry Phillip method.
Yeah, I knew he was going there. Yeah. Oh no, here we go.
Everybody was sort of captivated by Terry Phillip and his 28 degrees. Was it 28 degrees Celsius? He keeps everything equal, and everybody went and did it. But what they didn't realize was that there's no way on God's earth that you can keep your room 28 degrees here in Victoria, where unless it's like a wall. A 1 meter thick wall of insulation. The room just dropped. There's no way, and everybody just stuffed up. Had shitty seasons. I remember I tried it because I thought, gee, this might be the magic bullet, and it's right. Exactly right. Every person has their own way, and if you can't because of one guy that said if it's working, why change the recipe? You can tweak your recipe to get better, but it's like let's come on,
right.
But that's the whole point.
That was a good year.
We tell you what happens, and it's like what works for us, but you have to figure out what works for you in your setting with your animals, because my animals are not your animals, and they might take to something different or harsher or get stressed out if you change something. So we just want to give you information. It's up to you to figure out, using all that information, what works for you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, last night we touched on, I mentioned I'm just coming into a season over here with my reptiles, and I'll often do a bit of combating before I start doing introductions, just to test the water, see if the males are starting the cycle and all that sort of stuff. And before I actually came on the show last night, I actually had a couple of males together. just I'll throw them together, see what's happening. They've been cool. I've been monitoring their temperatures over the last couple of weeks. So I put them together, and sure enough, they started combating. So I thought, alrighty, I'll chuck them in with the girls. Did the show, got off the show last night, and both of those males were hooked up with the females.
Yeah.
During the show, Brent was saying, "Oh, I don't often combat some of the males, and I don't combat anything either. It's more at the start of the season. I just use it as almost a testing ground to see if I see the signs of the males to say that they're going into season, and I'll just throw them together to see if they're ready. And if they combat, and that only takes a few seconds for them to fire up. I'm like, yeah, they're right. I'll trial them in with the girl. If I get no response, I'll separate them again and leave them for a bit longer. But yeah, just same thing, just a slight difference of what we do. Works for me. Put them in, and the results, like within 3-4 hours of combating, they're mating. I could have put them in those drawers, and they might not have touched each other for another week.
There's I've got the photos there. Let me just talk so it jumps to my screen. So
ignore the
can
crappy
see.
Pictures.
Yeah, no, that's all right. We all know what the state of the tanks look like during breeding season. So there's which ones were these? What are those, Darren?
They're triple het. So they're caramel, silver pepper, and xanthic.
Okay, so those
guys there. So they're the 3 genes. So yeah, so hopefully, obviously the goals.
Yeah, I'm out. No, you destroyed it. I stopped the show.
And there's, but I mean, you look at those, and even by themselves, those snakes are. What's this? Aussie. There we go. Strike one. Yeah. So even that.
And the other ones are moonglow makers. So it was
just moonglow makers. Yeah. Okay. Easy.
Yeah.
Nothing to worry about. Just moonglow makers.
Crazy.
Old news here. Old news.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Oh, you don't have those yet? Oh.
No.
Yeah, they're like our corn snakes over here now.
So
good for kids.
Yeah, I wouldn't quite go as far as to say they're like corn snakes, Brent.
More like king snakes, maybe.
My son wants one in his bedroom. He said, "Can I have this year's moonglow just in my bedroom?" I said, "Sure, no worries. Just keep it as a pet, no problem."
Whatever. Yeah.
Don't need it for anything else.
Yeah. So you guys, Reese. So just by the way, it does so happen that this weekend would have been the first official Carpet Fest for Australia. So we'll just call it. Well, this is the anniversary. This is the first anniversary. The Carpet Fest show. It's the best we can do for people that wanted to go to Carpet Fest. But I did speak to you.
COVID.
Popular event, all 5 of us.
Yeah, I did speak.
We made it to International Carpet Fest, Eric.
Finally, our work is done.
But you know
You
that.
can retire.
But you know that is the other option. You can, like we talked about, this type of technology, and with Zoom, it's possible to do this stuff. You could have, you could get like everybody needs to get along first, and then you can schedule. And that's why I'm saying. Well, I say events shouldn't be limited by your feelings towards a person. It should be because you want to learn something.
We should all heed that advice, shouldn't we?
We should all heed that advice. And the thing is, if we can line up a 2-day event across because we could literally run hour-long presentations for 24 hours if it's from people from all, because we've got guys in Germany, we've got guys in England, we've got guys in North America, we've got guys in South Africa, we've got lots of guys everywhere in the world that keeps CarpetPython. You could literally run an event. A language barrier might be hard, but if they could do their presentation in their native tongue if they have to. Because I think Facebook, you can have a system where Facebook does, what are they, subtitles?
Translation.
So, translation.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what this type of thing can do. And wouldn't that be a great event, having the world's carpet guys doing that would be such an we spoke about it months ago, even before the coronavirus hit. But it means that people would have to go, okay, well, disregarding my feelings towards this guy, I'm going to get involved because I can see it's a great get together of minds that work with it. Oh, here we go. He always laughs at other people's batteries dying. So I mean that's something.
Even Col on the show again, isn't it?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, he's out in the bush somewhere. I can't even get a hold of him. But so you guys made a tell us about your trip, because you knew that was going to come up again. Tell us about your trip. Was it last year that you did got the glorious find?
Oh, the
October,
Owen Pelly
yeah.
trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing, nothing major, nothing crazy happened on it. I mean, yeah, it's boring.
Tell us though, what was the weather like? Good.
It was hot.
Hot as hell.
I loved every minute of it, but
Yeah.
you know, we went to the Northern Territory. We went, where did we go? Darwin, Erlangi, Kakadu. Help me, Owen.
And I can't
do.
because Rob's not here, so I'm just going. We went places. We were there. Plus,
Just
the
make
whole
things up,
trip.
you'll be right.
Well, the whole trip,
goal was to
I
find all the pythons, and we missed the olives.
missed one. So, and the problem is that I was sick as a dog. So I'm pretty sure like the first couple days I was like in a haze wandering, and they're like snake, and I'm over there like just there. Yeah, there's me. And
Yeah.
that's when I was feeling okay and could recognize I was holding an animal. So, but it was a really, really cool trip. And it was something that Eric went before me, because Eric goes places before I do to make sure it's safe for me. He,
Test it out.
test it. Yeah, he's my wine taster, so that but he was all about his last trip and checking out pictures of him, like messing with scrubbies and things like that. It was just killing me. So I had to make sure I went on this one, but it was an awesome trip, and you kind of sunk it in the first night we went out. We were in Fog Dam, and I'm like, this is cool, but whatever. And then it's not really hitting me yet. And then we found a water python, and I'm like, okay, this is awesome. Like, this is coming back every year. I just want to keep doing this. What's next?
Right.
Where are we going next? So yeah, it was awesome. And I was not expecting to see all the animals we saw. Not discounting the Owen Pelly python. Like, I wasn't expecting to find an echidna, or to find water pythons, children's pythons, a blackhead. Like, I was thinking like we might find like one or two things.
I just want to show you guys something. So isn't the resemblance canny? Look at the smiles. I mean, that's like a kid. Like that.
Can you not?
That is so. I mean, look at exactly the same expression on the face. Isn't it, reptile guys?
Yeah.
Reptile guys that get to hold something new are all the bloody same. It's like that.
That was in 2004 when Anthony Stimson did his first expo down in Darling Harbour.
Yeah.
And Marshall Black had actually from Northern Territory brought down one of the few Owen Pellies.
I was there.
Captivity.
Yep. I saw that snake.
And I'm like, what's the chance of getting a hold of that? And he's like, oh, not supposed to, but if you come back when I happen to be taking you out of the enclosure, he goes, I'll see what I can do.
And you stood
there
all
I
day.
was like a fly on turds, I was just hanging around, waiting. He took it out. I'm like, oh yeah, any chance of getting a hold of that? And he's like, yeah, no worries, come over, and grabbed a few pics. But to see an Owen Pelly as an adult in the flesh, and to get the chance to hold something like that was just, because I never thought that we'd ever see them in captivity.
I am.
We are like 16 years later, and we still can't get him in New South Wales. But yeah, it was.
I noticed I noticed your pants are quite wet here. I don't know what happened.
It was pouring, absolutely sing down rain outside and in my pants.
Okay.
Keep it clean. There we go.
No. It was. It was a two-day weekend. I had a conference on and everything, and I
was there.
The first day was great. The next day it was raining like nothing. But
were you at did you go to the reproductive to the conference the next day?
Yep.
That was pretty good. There was some good stuff there. That was early days, and then you realized, I sat there the whole day, and I realized there were some clever keepers. Even when was that? Was that 2004?
2004.
Yeah, that's a long time ago. And everybody had this big massive container that they converted into, they had this big window in the side of it, and it had this big, I think that must have been a 3 or 4 meter, crocodile, saltwater crocodile in there.
Yeah.
It was like, these Aussies are crazy.
Used to bring that up. Yeah, I used to come up from is it Shoalhaven or Nick Shilko? Trying to think if it was Shoalhaven too, now Zoo, or down the south coast anyway. Used to bring it up for Anthony's expos back in the day. Yeah,
Right.
it was a big animal. Very
Really
cool.
good. Yeah. So tell me, you met Gavin Bedford up in the north as well. You had a look at his pellies there. Was that the first contact, or was that after you found the wild one?
That was after. That was the day after.
Yeah.
We found the wild one. Gave us a little more credibility, you know.
A little bit.
Because I remember,
and we also
There
we
you go.
brought Keith McPeak with us too, and we're like, hey, we're all carpet guys, but this dude works with Bolins.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
Gavin's like, oh, and it's like, ah, yeah, there we go. So
Yeah, right in
you
the
got to
door.
bring a heavy hitter with you.
yeah,
But yeah, we found the OP, and then we went. We had dinner with Gavin, and then he took us to the botanical gardens in Darwin to look for Darwin carpets. So
you know,
Yeah,
to-
because we said we couldn't find a Darwin carpet. And
Ah.
we're the
Took him
carpet
5
guys, and
seconds.
we can't find a
Took
carpet.
5
He
freaking
just
seconds. He's
goes
like,
and,
there. Like,
shines a
oh.
light up in the tree. He's like, oh yeah, right there. I'm like,
but
damn it.
do you know that he did his Gavin Bedford did his? I went and saw a presentation of his at the Victorian Herpetological Society of many years ago, and his PhD was on on pythons and their metabolic rates and stuff when they
Yeah.
have exercise, and he actually had a treadmill that he had carpet pythons crawl on. That was part of the study, and he had his doctorate.
That's awesome.
His doctorate was like a thick leather-bound manuscript. Not a, and I looked at that and geez, and he's telling us about this bloody treadmill with these snakes crawling around. And I'm like, he's crazy Aussies. Yeah, but any case, it's good value. It's good value. He did really well, but you sort of wonder the credibility of the Australians in that. And I'm being totally unbiased now. You sort of wonder how the Australians struggled so hard to find these things, and you've got 2 trips from 2 groups of Americans come out here, and on each trip they found an own belly. Did you see the size of that thing that they found, that Dave Kaufman and Keenan Harkin,
Yes.
that was a massive snake, and
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
was just crawling across the road.
The
Beautiful.
one we found, we thought it was small, but because it was so high in the tree, it was probably around the same size. I would
Yeah.
think it was big because it just we saw the head come out, and we were looking up, and you could see it coming out of the cave, and we are like, "Is it? Could it be? No, is it?" And then it kept coming and coming and coming, and I'm like, we're like little boys running around, like, "Oh my god, it is!"
We're trying to be quiet at the same time, so we're screaming and whispering at the same time. Is it? Shut up!
And then
Stop yelling!
So
I'm not.
Just scare it. Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
this big tree, and we're wondering whether or not we should climb the tree. And
Should
we're
have
like,
climbed it.
"No, we're not
Should
gonna
have
try
climbed
to
the damn
not
tree.
trying." But all of a sudden it got lost. So Owen runs around one way, and he's trying to find it, and I just jumped down into this leaf litter where there's
Yeah,
there's
there's-
snakes all over.
Yeah.
the place, and I'm just trudging through, like not even thinking. Oh yeah, it was great.
You don't think when you see something like that, the last thing that
Ah.
goes through your mind is what dangers are in. I don't care. I
Yeah,
don't
it
care.
doesn't
There could be a 5-meter croc right there. It doesn't matter. Where's the snake? Yeah. All
kept
common
saying
sense goes
before
out
we
the
left,
window.
I kept saying to people before we left, we're gonna find it. We're gonna find it. And some Australians that I talked to, on Facebook or whatever, they're like, "Man, good luck, but I don't think you're gonna
No
find
way.
it." And I'm like,
It
I'm
was
like,
a disgusting
you.
bit of luck, because the only reason we were back in that area,
Your phone.
because
yeah.
we'd already tried, couldn't find it, given up, moved on to the next place, is because this dumbass lost his phone on a mountain, and
Yes.
from just some circumstance, somebody found it
yes,
and brought it back to their hotel. It connected with the Wi-Fi, and they texted his wife saying, "We found your husband's phone." Like, there are so many things that phone could have never been found, and we would not have gone back to that area and been
Right.
like, "Hey, well, we're here. Let's try to see the OP one more time." Like,
Very well
Wow.
planned.
he
Beautiful
did that
plan.
on purpose.
Yeah.
He just, I'll throw my phone in this ravine.
Dude,
Like,
dude,
yeah, it's
2 minutes sweating and feeling uncomfortable in that weather, I would have just gone, "Nah, I'm out of here." You wouldn't have got me back there. No air conditioning for me. Sorry. But that's great. I mean, that's great. I mean, that is. I can only I cannot even think of that'll be one of those things in life that will happen once to only a few people. That would be so rare to happen. It's different than buying a snake and bringing it home and keeping it from a breeder. To find something like that so unique in the environment like that, knowing it's so rare, I can't think of anything that could beat for a reptile keeper. I don't. It's a lifer, definitely.
Yeah.
So you can keep it. You can take as many wanker shots as you want. Standing there, I probably would have gone and found. I probably would have gotten in really big trouble. But I would have gone and found something to remove it so I could hold it. Different place in the world you probably would have, but in Australia, you could get arrested for that. I was just thinking, you're saying you're keeping your voices down. I was in Madagascar in 1997, and at the year before that, there were naturalists that they shot naturalists dead in one of their forests because they thought they were poachers. That's how serious this stuff gets taken in different parts of the world. I mean, the same thing would happen here. If you were driving and you removed, we talked about it last night, if you picked up something off the road and just moved it off the side and somebody was behind you in a car, took your number plate and reported you to the police, you could get fined massive fines. I haven't heard of it happening before, but it's possible. But just the fact that a reptile keeper, sometimes it's a good thing to keep the voices down in an area like that. So
wait, if you drive over it, you don't get in trouble, but if you move it off the road, then you get in trouble.
Yeah,
how dare you save that animal?
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Dear.
Did you see many dead animals on the road driving out to where on the roads up there, or in your travels in Australia?
When I went up to
couple
Cairns,
night
I
tigers.
did.
What's
but,
that?
Yeah.
Night tigers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the toads would just come out in the road and be like,
Bloop, bloop,
and
bloop.
like stare you down. You're like, all right, I guess you've chosen death. So it's you try not to hit them, but there's like 4 of them, and they're all like, it's like, all right, fine, I'm not gonna kill us all. And so the lots of toads, a couple night tigers, but not a lot of stuff on the side of the road that was like smashed, because that's something we always keep hearing about. Is people are like, I've wanted to see this, or I forget who it is, Eric, but somebody's like, I need to see a skink or a blue tongue or something like that. But every time they go to Australia, they keep finding dead ones on the side of the road, and they're like, son of a bitch. So I don't know. But
somebody asked here. Somebody asked, how did you deal with the insects? Did you put what's the stuff that we've got that we spray on us over here? Aerogard. Did you use some of the Aussie Strength insect repellents?
No, we put nets over our faces and looked like idiots. Yeah. No, we just did that.
Better to look like an idiot than cop a mouthful of flies.
Yeah. Dear God, it was horrible. Like I think we had nets that kind of came with our hats, and they weren't really great. So at one of the hotels, they had ones that you could like put on over a baseball cap, and I think all of us bought one, except for Rob, who's just like trudging through these things all over his face. It's like,
yeah, he didn't seem to care.
What is wrong with you, dude?
Like, his nose and his ears.
Like, Keith McPeak's like, I need a net. This is driving me insane. Eric and I are both netted, and then Rob is just like pushing through, walking around. Like, yeah, man,
but it's it's extra protein. Up there, you just have to keep your mouth open and just hope they find the right spot down there. You fill your gut with flies.
You have a flat white, you have a grilled cheese sandwich for breakfast. I don't understand that one. And then you just eat a bunch of flies on the path. That's fine.
Darren Boswell says, that's how you can pick an American herper in the Northern Territory. Although I don't know. Do we know if Aerogard is effective against flies, or do they not give a shit? The flies.
I think at first that they are, but then after a few minutes they're like, stuff it, I'll go anyway. Dive in there.
Tell me, did you notice that the flies are also lazy flies? They don't even. It's not even a fly that wants to get away. They sort of sit there, and you can sort of just pat them to death. They crazy.
Yes. It's not like the American flies where
they zoom off.
Yeah, Eric has that one picture of like my back as I'm walking, and there are like 10 flies like on me, like just drinking my sweat or just hanging out. I mean, they were my friends. They They were with me on the path the whole way.
The
But
best-
Dad, go this way. Dad, go that way.
exactly. Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
the
I
good-
want an ice cream.
The good thing,
Yeah.
the good thing about those nets are that you can keep your food source close once they sort of climb underneath the net and they're buzzing around your face. You know,
Trapped in there. Yes, they're good for trapping flies inside.
Oh, I mean, I reckon that in Australia, that is one of the things. One of the priorities of moving into a new house is you do not move into a new house if there's no fly nets on the front door and the back door. It's just one of those things I always look at. It's like, we can't live here. There's no fly, there's no fly netting.
No fly screen.
Keep those, and we're not even.
Yeah.
It's not even bad in Victoria. I do remember it's been quiet. It's been been a fly safe zone for the last few years. But I remember the early days when I got here. It's like the pests comes in waves in Australia. It's one year they've got the earwigs. Did you guys see all those earwig breakouts of earwigs somewhere in Australia that guys put out? I think who was telling. You put out a tin of vegetable oil or something, and the guy's showing this tin of like a ice cream tub full of earwigs drowned in this. So we go, it's a great place, an outdoor like a statue outside in the garden, and this thing is just covered in earwigs. And you go, where? An earwig, a pest. I never thought these guys. You see the occasional one, but there's areas in Australia that's covered in the things. It's weird place to live in, you know.
That's insane.
It's totally
Catch 'em
gone.
and feed your beardies.
Yeah, free food. In Africa, we've got
More protein.
the plague locusts, you know, that cross the road, and cars are sliding everywhere because of the locust juice on the roads is that thick. So every kind
Locust juice.
Yum.
because the cars is just like this
Oh,
spread
get
of
out of my
dead-
head.
Like a slime of locust juice.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So sorry, we've totally got distracted by plagues of the different countries. So I guess we win. I guess we win that one as well, Australia. You know the plague,
You, have
plague
it. You can have that one. Good
Oh.
job, guys.
Yeah,
flies, dangerous.
I'll send
animals.
some over. Teleportation.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
As long as it comes with the silver pepper, you can do whatever you want.
Gut loaded.
Yeah,
loaded.
gut loaded. Yeah, better.
So there's a few people watching. Let me just go and see if there's any comments here, any questions. Like shoot, guys, if you're watching the show, we've got we've got all the time in the world here. I think we've got a few hours at least to talk about things. Darren Boswell said apparently that incident happened up at Fog. Apparently that we're getting arrested. Is that getting arrested up at Fog Dam? Gavin and Darren Boswell. It almost happened to him in 1989. So it can happen. Yeah, you need to just be wary. Don't tell people you're looking for snakes. Please, just if you're exploring Australia, don't act suspicious and carry
Taking
bags and
photos of
snake
plants
hooks.
is the best one.
What's that?
You're taking photos of plants. That's the get out of jail free. No one wants to talk to that guy. It's like, yeah, mate, just go and do your thing. Go away.
Or
You can,
binoculars.
even, you can even make up some scientific names and they'd have no idea what you're saying. You just ramble some stuff off, you know. I'm looking at plants, you know. Make up a
We
few
were on
names.
Dorat and looking for snakes, and actually the police did stop us, and they were like, "What are you guys doing?" We're like, "We're just checking out, looking for snakes." They're like, "All right," and they just left, and I'm like,
Really?
"We made it! We did it!"
Bucket list tick.
Yep. Didn't get arrested because it was one of those Northern Territory cop cars that was a pickup truck with like a cage in the back. I'm like, Eric's going in the cage. Eric's going to go in the cage and take directly to prison. So
You should have just said, that guy kidnapped me. I'm
that
trying
guy's
to get away.
poaching. Yeah. Don't trust him. He's short. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, right.
Shortness.
I'm sorry.
Shots fired on his own team as well.
It's
Wow.
it just
Friendly fire.
Listen,
just
have
vertically.
you listened to the podcast? Of course, that's what happened.
It's just vertically challenged, isn't it? Tell me. So did you guys go and dive with the Crocs while you're up there?
We did.
Yeah. Was it good?
Yeah, Rob had like this itinerary where we were going to do stuff. And the first thing was like, oh, after the plane, we're going to go to Crocosaurus Cove, kind of hang out. And we get there and they're like, would you like to dive with a crocodile? I'm like, I would. And they're like, we don't have any opening till Thursday. I'm like, we'll come back. And Rob's like, I guess I'm shifting stuff around. Like we were there, we were in Australia for an hour, and I already destroyed Rob Stone's beautiful itinerary of what we were
The
doing, because
plan.
now we had to come back around to go back to Crocosaurus Cove. And it was one of those, like, I will dive with the crocodile, and Eric's coming with me. And Eric's like, I am. And it's like, yes. So
Is there an option
okay.
here? No.
Yeah, no, there isn't. Get in the thing. So and it was cool. It was fun, you know.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Darren elaborated on that story. He said, we were collecting northern water-holding frogs, cyclorana, for the uni, and the local ranger that lived there came out and made us open every bag. We became friends. We became friends with Rex after that, and we taught him about all the herbs that lived there. So it had a silver lining. Tell me, there was something I wanted to ask you, but no, continue. I don't know what's going on with me. I keep getting these great questions, and I get distracted, and then the next, it's like information retention's not my forte these days.
It's that neutral territory you're sitting on over there in Switzerland. That's what it is.
Oh no, what's that dividing line right there? You know. So Darren wanted to ask something here that you guys have. We don't have the Stardust or the reduced pattern diamonds over here. What's the genetics behind? Ari, I know you working on that. I think we touched on it lightly when you were on the show. Let's do a little bit of snake talk, because that's what we all like to do. And I know that's one thing. Darren, we don't have the reduced pattern diamonds here, do we?
No, not that I know of. Yeah.
We got all black ones, and we got all white ones, and stuff like that. But what's the genetics behind it? Has that been proven, the reduced pattern diamond, Eric?
Kind of. I believe it's recessive, but a lot of the people that have them really haven't worked with it to figure out what the genetics is, if you will. They think it's magic. I don't know. There's something about some diamond python people over here that
Stardust.
It's pretty. Yeah,
that's why it's called that name. But yeah, I would say it's recessive.
Yeah.
You know, it seems to be the case. And,
has anybody put a visual to a visual yet, or not?
I'll be doing that next year. I want to say, I don't think that's been done. No, I don't think that's been done. I'm trying to find a picture of it so I can send
Greg didn't do it, because I thought he had a bunch of them together, or did he just not?
I don't think he did reduced to reduced, because all of them that I have from him are reduced to a normal diamond.
Just send it in that message, those messages that are in that messenger group that I set up, and I can show it on the screen.
Gotcha.
I do like them. There was some of them were over in Norway as well. Who was it? Was John Eric Engel also made some of them? Although with
Yes.
anything out of the Eric Engel hatch facility, you know, was questionable. I know you guys we've all had a laugh about the banana car. Was it the banana? Banana and the pixel peeping that everybody was dead. Remember that thread on MoreliaPythons.com? Was it MoreliaPythons.com, the old forum? Where the guys the guys were pulling up, blown up pictures, zooming in. Why hasn't it got scales? So it's questionable. It's great, but the Stardust did look like it was. Is there any talk of that? Did that just disappear, or where did those animals go to?
I believe it's the same thing.
Yeah,
I think it's the same thing. But for whatever reason, they changed the name when it popped up again. I think it popped up again around maybe 2006, 2007, something like that. And Josh Easter had they popped out of a clutch that he had, and everybody was like, "What the hell is that?" And it's I sent those pictures.
Yeah, I got it.
But yeah, they're really.
Is there many people working with them over there at the moment, or they kind of appeared and vanished, and now a few started popping back up again?
There's probably a handful of people. Diamond pythons over here have sort of the stigma that they're hard to work with.
They are spectacular, though. I mean, there's a photo of the one. There's the head. Did you take these photos, Eric?
Yes.
Are you getting good with that camera? Oh, look at that. Oof.
Nah, I like him.
Yeah, that's my adult male.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
It kind of reminds me of the Stonewash.
There's noise out of Brent. Yeah, that is very nice. Yeah.
It's almost like a granite diamond order, sort of almost.
Yeah.
Yep.
It organizes the pattern a little bit and then like just deletes it in other places and you're like, okay. So yeah, they're awesome, especially in person. Like I come over and I push Eric out of the way and just hold his pythons,
Yeah.
Hi, get out of the way. Move you. So yeah,
So I bred that male to a normal female. And that's the one that's in her nest box right now.
Oh, so you
we'll see
have
what
you
happens.
have you made diamonds before, Eric?
No.
So that'd be a first.
Oh, awesome.
So she's in the nest box. She hasn't laid yet. Are you gonna take? You'll probably you'll incubate the eggs though, or would you let her incubate the eggs?
Yeah, Eric, what are you gonna do?
I'm a maternal incubation guy. I like to see that happen. But I don't know. We'll see. Sometimes I get nervous and
Hey,
Take control.
something I've never done that.
But
the strop on it, is that a typical thing with all of them?
yes, yeah.
That's so nice though. I'm still staring at it. Yeah. Beautiful snake.
Excuse me.
So how many days before you think it's how close do you think the eggs are?
I think she's about to have her pre-lay shed, and then
Nice.
then we should see.
Do you call it a
weird?
you-
They were at 50. Well, wait, hold on. I have a little thing here.
Oh, he's
Convert
got
it
the,
to Celsius. Yeah.
10 degrees Celsius.
There you go.
And
So
I felt weird to have pythons that cold, but they were out and about, and
Loved it.
yeah.
yeah, but see, you're trying. I mean, I do think we've been taught. All of us have been taught from the old school books that were regurgitated information, and I think it takes a few guys. It takes people talking and telling others how they're doing it for us to go, but hang on, maybe we've been doing it wrong. Listen to the communication between the Australians and what do these snakes, what are they doing at the moment outside? And you see Colin goes out and he collects diamond pythons all the time this year. So they're out and about. It's the coldest part of the year and diamond pythons are still moving around. And he goes to, I mean, we had 2 degrees Celsius here last night. And I bet you I doubt they'd ever be in a position where they'd get that cold. Although David Evans, when I had him on the show a couple of weeks ago, he said that he's done temp gun scans on their heads, and their heads are like bread-like with like 2 degrees Celsius. Their heads,
Yeah.
So they go down.
I've done the same years ago. I used to keep diamonds in an aviary outside.
Yeah.
And I went out there. It was freezing cold one morning, and one of the diamonds hadn't gone into any of the logs. Was actually sitting on top, and I did the exact same thing. Went out with the temp gun, and it was 4 degrees. And I'm like, bloody hell! But then the sun came up, and it would hit the aviary 10 o'clock in the morning. Went out there at 10 o'clock. The sun hit them, and they're over 20 degrees. Ambient temperature is still cold, but just that black coloration was just sucking in the heat. And I'm like, wow, like such a huge temperature variation. But yeah, they can take the freezing cold, but obviously they need the heat as well during the day to warm them up.
Yeah, so what I stumbled upon, Owen, actually, I heard him talking on another podcast, believe it or not. He was a guest on a podcast, and he was talking about how he uses the herp stats that we have, and they have this feature in it where you can ramp the heat up and then ramp the heat down.
Yeah, I love it.
That's sort of what I do with them. So, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it'll be the hottest time, for them, and they'll be there basking, and, then it'll ramp back down. So it's not that constant heat.
Yeah. It's, to be honest, I think I was struggling breeding my olive python. So I was kind of looking at how other people did it, and checked out a couple Aussie breeders and did little conversions from Celsius to Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I would have never dropped my olives down to, I think they said 15, close to it, degrees Celsius. So, and that's like 60. That's like, for me, colubrid temperatures. And I can't, aside from my bredli, I would never drop my pythons that low.
But is that because you were brought up in the information that you were given, you were conditioned to believe that? I mean, we're all conditioned to believe that these animals from the old books that they can't handle it, and it's clear. You made a clutch of olives this year, didn't you?
Yes, yeah, we had.
And
I
that's
did have
hard.
success. So it was one of those things where I tweaked it,
Yeah.
and this is the first year I've seen consistent locks, male interest. I have 2 pairs of olives, and I got locks on both pairs.
Yeah.
One just didn't take. The other one I got a healthy clutch out of, but
Nice.
I would have never dropped them down that low because it was a disconnect. It was the rumors for olive pythons in the U.S. was you need 2 males because otherwise they won't show interest.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking that we overfeed them and we don't drop them cold enough.
Yeah. Isn't
What you talk about the cold side? What about the heat side? Did you ever monitor like basking temps for them as well on the hot side?
Yeah, I mean the other thing is what I do is it'll drop down, but like I said, it'll go by the time of day, so it'll start going down and it'll hit down low to about 60 degrees, and it'll hold there for a couple hours during the night, and then it'll start ramping back up. So they get to about 84, 83 degrees during the daytime for maybe an hour or two. So and then it starts.
how much that?
Thank you.
39.
Said 29 Celsius.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you. This is why I keep him. So you know,
There's a difference. There's a difference. It's Celsius
there's a
versus
difference.
Fahrenheit
Yeah,
bullshit.
It starts ramping back down, and it's funny to watch them because the pythons act completely different than the colubrids. Pythons are moving around when it's cooler. When it's colder, they are moving around at nighttime when it's in the 70s or something like that. And then they'll just be asleep in either the box, on top of the box, on any side they want to be on during the daytime. With my other snakes, my colubrids, they're sleeping when it's 70, and then when the heat comes up, they're out, they're moving, they're looking for food, they're curled up, soaking in the heat, and then they go back to wherever it is they want to go. So it's a different kind of thing, and it was cool to kind of see. And like I said, I got the olives this year, so now I'm starting to mess with the temperatures for my Timor pythons because I keep hearing people have success keeping them at ambient room temperature. I have not gotten brave enough to unplug them yet, but I'm like, every day I grab the plug and I'm like, no, not today. So it might happen soon.
But it's like that with rarer snakes. I mean, I you know, the longer you in this hobby, the more you like. I respect that. That's like to breed olive pythons, mate. You've bred white-lipped pythons as well. I mean,
I've not bred the white-lipped pythons. I've been attempting to breed them for years now. But
that's the next level. That's next level shit. The
oh god, I would love to. If I get, I think I told Eric this year, like if I get olive pythons, rough scale pythons, and white lips, I retire. Like I'm done. Sell all the snakes. I'm done. It's like I can't go any higher. What's next? Bull and I, they scare me. No. So it's
peppers. Snakes.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. I don't have a single.
As soon as we get
inland.
that teleportation device,
get it to me. Yep.
So you know else I follow as well, Ryan Young. He is
he's my hero.
He's an amazing.
He's even the Python guru.
Even I saw, but he also lives in an area that you said is icy cold.
Yes.
So that's great if you want to control temperatures and you have a grasp on heating rooms and cooling things, and you can set up rooms and the ambient temperature never messes you around, doesn't go too high, drops when it needs to drops. I saw Nick Mutton also had a clutch of wild caught. What was the scrub pythons?
Wamina scrub.
That is they like scrub pythons. I would say the toughest from years of watching. Guys, what did Ryan Young breeds a whole list of stuff that is like unheard of and consistent.
Ryan got gold white lips. Yeah. He got this year. He got gold white lips, black white lips. He got Dunn's pythons, 2 clutches. He got scrubs, and then like breadlie, and then he's like, "Oh, look at the ball pythons." We're like, "No, move next one." Like it's. I mean, Ryan is one of those guys that just is crushing it. Him and Nick work together and stuff like that, and they kill it. Like the reason we have half the species and half the morphs in the US is because of those guys. I mean, and especially with all the talk of shutting down importation from Indonesia, like that might be the only lifeline we have for white lips.
What is
after a certain point?
What is that other the other olive? It looks like an olive. Is it Papua? Is it the Papuan?
Papuan pythons.
Papuan pythons. They something about their heads that I just love.
Full face.
I love the look of their structure's very similar to an olive python, but then they've got those buffy heads, beautiful snakes as well. Is anybody doing any? Is anybody? Sorry, guys. We're not talking about.
Jeez, I'll tell
These
you what,
are-
for neutral territory, he's got a lot to say.
Yeah.
Forget about those guys. Don't worry about them.
No,
Talk
but
about us.
it's
Yeah.
nice.
I think Brent's the one in neutral territory at the moment.
We got the cool stuff. It's fine.
Yeah, but I mean, we'll get into the mutations. I mean, at the moment, I think the Aussies are leading the pack with the. There we go.
USA.
There we go.
Yeah, we
Waiting for it.
converted him. Move him
I'm
to the other
surprised-
side of the screen.
I'm surprised it's not on the.
Darren. Yeah.
I'm surprised. Hey, there we go. Colin Schumacher's in the house. G'day, mate. Yeah, did you get up from your late night working? Yeah, my normal wingman on the show, so he couldn't make it. He's up out somewhere in rural Australia somewhere. Yank tanks. There we go. So yeah, I was surprised that little note wasn't on a little American notepad, like the American flag on it, It's crazy. So, okay, no, there's those are at least a positive with the way you guys are. I thought we should talk about differences in like the legal side of keeping. I know you guys had Peter Birch on the show this week, and I know you guys were quite surprised at what we have to go through to send animals from one, especially when you're interstate.
Oh my goodness.
That was horrible.
It's like I can tell you some horror
We
stories.
paid $40. We put it in a box, and it shows up at somebody's house. The
I
next
mean,
day.
sometimes they show up in socks. I mean, like there's shipping in America it's a box with some arrows drawn on it that point up,
Oh.
and then it arrives in a tube sock. I
I've-
mean, that's what happens sometimes. So
I've had
Yeah.
stuff. I've had stuff arrive in a cake tin, like the little a round cake tin, in old socks, dirty socks. And I pulled out the black. It was black blue tongues. I opened the tub, and there was this round tub of like bickies. In Australia we call them bickies. And I pulled these socks out, and it literally looked like somebody's woolen work socks. And I thought, gee, that's a nice way to ship
these
it.
stink. I'll put a couple of bullies in them and send them away.
It was like it's about $2,000 worth of animals. I thought, really, we couldn't just go and maybe get a clean pillowcase, or they've got these pillow protectors that's all aerated with little zips on it. It makes it look nice. Yeah, get a cake tin after you pay $2,000 for a pair of or 2 or 3 animals, and they arrive in dirty socks. It was great. Horror stories. Have you guys got any horror stories of freight, Darren?
my
Oh,
I mean, I had one
Yeah,
where
go.
my rough scales came during a blizzard with one of those oven warmer, mitten warmers.
yeah.
And this was like my first pair of rough scales, and they arrived and they were like dead. Like they looked dead, and they were just laying
Were they
there.
cold or hot? Too
And
cold or too hot?
Cold.
Gee.
Cold. It was freezing cold, and they were just laying there, and I'm like, oh God. And I put them on top of a heat pad that I brought, and they perked up. But God, I was devastated. I thought, like, that's it. These roughies are gone. And this is back when they were still somewhat rare in U.S. herpetoculture. Still are, damn it.
But
So-
it's talking about roughies. What, to give people out here, what would a pair of roughies be worth over there? Out of curiosity.
12
$2,500, right?
to 1,000. What?
Okay,
Twen-
not that
They're
bad.
not-
actually.
What?
They're not 2,500 a pair.
I mean, I'm sorry, each. They're about 12 to 1,000 each. So
Yeah.
The first ones were expensive though, because where did the stock? Okay, let's not go there. It's good.
okay,
This could open a can of
we can
worms.
do roughies all
But
day.
I know
All day.
I know the first legal papered ones over in Europe they were expensive. They were expensive snakes. I mean, what was the sort of the end? Because there was the stuff that came into America came in through Bushmaster, I think. Does my memory serve me
Yeah.
right? Yeah. But
Yep.
they were expensive then, though. What can you guys remember? What the rough scales were originally when Bushmasters? I remember seeing prices. I used to go on
$10,000.
Bushmaster's website every day and see if there was any new listings. I remember going. That was one of the websites that I always just go, how the hell the stuff from out of, because everything sort of went through Indo,
Mhm.
made their way onto a price list, and then managed to end up in the US. I think they were 8,000, like it was a few thousand at least for rough scale pythons.
I remember
say
them
they were
at 7.
10,000.
Yeah, I remember them at
7 to
7 at one
10,000.
point. Yeah, And that was when I think Bushmaster was letting go of their adults, as I remember them being like 7 each. So they were up there for a while. So
and now I can't think when I saw them for sale last, babies.
Here in
it
the
come and
States?
goes.
Yeah, I don't know what are you guys hearing me, Brent and
Yeah.
Darren?
Yeah,
When
it's certainly
when
cheap in Australia now. We know that they've
haven't s-
had a huge popularity. Population explosion. And although still class 2 here in New South Wales, it's
oh, that's the classes. Explain.
crazy how cheap. They are.
Maybe let's talk about the different classes, because in New South Wales you guys do it. In Victoria it's simple, it's straightforward. It's a basic. You get a shop license. That's maybe, I think, depending on how many months you pay for whatever, that's expensive. But then if you for the standard average reptile keeper in Victoria, it's you get a basic license and an advanced license. Basic license has your bearded dragons and stuff like that on, and then your advanced license you can keep saltwater crocodiles and stuff like that. So New South
Let's
Wales,
get that one.
but you can only keep a saltwater crocodile up to a certain size. I think 1.5 meters or something, because then they become, and then you need to offload it to a crocodile park. And this is just me I haven't dealt with saltwater crocodiles for quite some time, but I know that you have to offload them and replace them then with a smaller crocodile. Somebody will probably tell us. Oh yeah,
That's Victoria. I think in New South Wales we can't keep crocs at all unless you're an exhibitor license.
But then you can keep other species, like you guys can keep parentes and all this other white-lip pythons. I see people are keeping white-lip pythons up there. How does your license structure work in New South Wales? What's the base? Just talk us through the base, from the basic license all the way through to your most advanced licenses.
I think it really depends on each state what is actually listed in class 1 and class 2. Every state's different. It's crazy how we can't have a national set of rules that applies to everybody. There's species Queensland have that are only on Queensland. No one else can have them. And New South Wales obviously has stuff that you can't have. And then there's the green trees, where you're only supposed to have Aussie green trees. And if you want to import from other states, we just went through all that, process where you had to prove that it was of Aussie bloodlines to get import papers issued to New South Wales. It's ridiculous that we can't have a national code between the country. We're only talking about 5 states. We're not talking 50 states or anything crazy like the states have. So how we can't have a simple set of rules just blows my mind. It's detrimental to the hobby that people can breed stuff and then have such a limited market to sell it into.
Yeah. And then on the other hand, sorry, Darren, go.
I was just going to say, and then on the licensing, we have, it's changed now, but it's R1 through to R5 in categories 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, R1's your basic species, and by the time you get to R5, you can keep eastern browns, taipans, all the nasty stuff. And there's different levels. R2, so with rough scale pythons, they're classed as R2. So when you get your license, you're supposed to keep whatever species you have on R1 before you can go to R2. So if you wanted to keep
2 years,
a parenti, for example, you can't buy one on an R1. So you would want to buy an R1 species, which I think I don't know if it's changed, but it used to only be 4 monitors. I think it was Ackies, Gillens, and Tristis, and something else. So you'd actually have to keep those for 2 years, and then you would have to apply to national parks to get a class 2 to say, oh, I want to keep a lace monitor, I want to keep a Spencer's or a Parenti or something or other. And they look back and go, oh, okay, you've had them for 2 years. You can show you've been able to keep monitors, and they'll grant you a license. So you couldn't go from, this is the theory. You couldn't go from having an R1 license and keeping CarpetPythons and say, I want an R2 because I want a Parenti. It's like, well, you've never kept a monitor before, you're not going to keep a large one. So, but then you have to have 2 years, have to apply, then you get your R2, then you have to have that, and then from R2 upwards, I think there might even be some mildly venomous stuff on R2. But then you can go on there and R3, R4, R5, more introducing your venomous categories more than anything else. So, and once again, once you start going to vends, you need references from other people to say that you've got the capabilities and the skills to handle and maintain and keep venomous snakes. So
The funny thing is though, in Victoria, there's no like it's a license, but there's no sort of test involved. So you can literally, you don't have to have a basic license first and then get an advanced. There's no there's no prerequisite for an advanced license. So depending on how much you want to spend, you can literally walk in as a novice and buy a crocodile. And with stuff like that, I sort of have an issue because you go, okay, well surely, and I don't want to, like it's how they do things, and they've always done it that way. But there's no sense to me for a kid to be able to just get a croc because there's no monitoring of that. So you could buy lace monitors on a basic license, and as far as I'm concerned, a lace monitor could just if you're untrained and you don't have any experience in monitor lizards, to walk into a shop, and I guess it boils down to the breeders as well. A breeder needs to use his common sense before he sells a kid a lace monitor. I mean, but we can't, you know how the world is. A lot of people don't think that way. So there's no, you have to have a basic license for say 5 years to make sure that you understand how to keep reptiles, and then you can upgrade after. You can show that after you've had basic animals for 5 years, you can get an advanced license, and this is the cost or whatever. That makes more sense to me. But to just be able to fill in a form online, send of your money, and have access to something that can kill you, I just don't know how it works. I mean, it makes sense to me in New South Wales where you have the R's, the levels, and you need to get references, you need to do the courses to keep venomous stuff. Advanced license as well in Victoria. You can now go, if you get an advanced, you can go out and get taipans. And nobody checks on you. Are you guys in your state where you are, Owen and Eric, are you allowed to keep venomous snakes? What's the deal with, I know you can keep it. Are you allowed to keep any snakes, or are you restricted to natives or natives? Do you need a permit for natives? How does it work where you guys are?
Permit. The laws in the U.S. vary from state to state, and then they can also vary from city to city.
Yeah.
Certain animals that are legal in Pennsylvania are illegal in the city of Philadelphia and the major cities in the state. If they're within the city limits, you can't have it.
Yeah.
That doesn't stop anyone.
No.
And then
It would. Yeah.
I mean, Eric and I live close to this one show. It's Hamburg, Pennsylvania, and it's the show for every herper in PA. But they also have a very large venomous aisle and things like that. Now, the rule in Pennsylvania is you have to be over the age of 18 to own a venomous snake.
Yeah.
And that is the only rule. I mean, that's it. There's no permit system. There's no training. There's no nothing. You can
prerequisites.
Nope, not a single thing.
You go to the reptile show, you get your your reptile starter pack, and you walk out with a crocodile, Nile crocodile,
or alligator, either one.
Is that which is your local
cobra or a mamba? Isn't that's your reptile?
And then also possibly a really mad retic. So that's it. That's what you do. I used to work for an educational zoo doing outreach programs, and I went there one time, and there was a beautiful juvenile crocodile, and I'm like, hey, I want this for the zoo, and I'm trying to hammer out the deal, and a gentleman buys it for his 15-year-old, and I'm like,
that's great.
No, I'll get it when you guys call my zoo because now you have a crocodile in your tub. No, I'll get it somehow. Don't worry about it. So,
Wow.
But that's the prerequisite. With our state, they do regulate native species more than say species that are not native to the state of Pennsylvania. Other states like Florida are really places
tough.
A lot of the
Florida's
states where
tough.
reptiles can live outside and they have issues with introduced reptiles. They have stricter rules. Pennsylvania is, as long as it's not a sugar glider, they don't care. Like,
as long as it's not a sugar. Why a sugar glider?
Can't have a sugar glider.
You can't have
a
them.
sugar glider.
Why?
Yep, nope. Something about it's a lot of times with rules in the states.
Dangerous.
If there's a paper that comes out somewhere or sometime saying that it could potentially live in the wild or impact, the state's fauna.
What a terrible
invasive. It's illegal. So somewhere there's a paper saying something that may have been closely related to a sugar glider, because that's the other thing is too. It's like are you guys sure you didn't mean flying squirrels? No, well, them too, and sugar gliders. I'm like, so anything that
blanket ban that
small
shit.
squirrel that can kind of glide, it's no good. Okay, them and hedgehogs, can't have them in the state of PA.
Crazy sugar gliders. They're such sweet, innocent little stinky animals. It could be the stink.
Like horrible noises.
Oh, they're horrible.
You
Yeah,
can have
but
a
I
Nile
mean-
crocodile.
No, well, salties are better. Salties are something that can.
We can't get salty, so they're
Yeah,
always
we can't have
Niles
those.
mixed with
Or I'm sure they
Morlets or
would be
something
in
like
the
that.
starter pack.
Oh yeah,
You just saltwater starter pack.
yeah.
It's a 6 foot enclosure.
Have a swim, have a bath. You can have a bath with it. It's beautiful. It's a great animal to
But-
keep around the kids. You know. Tell me,
Yeah.
what's your local shows?
have
Is Hamburg one of your? Hamburg, I heard, is a very open, like all wild. It's like just the wilds. You know, like there's different species. Venomous.
I
everything.
have seen some things at that show. I mean, I've seen a black mamba in a sweater box with some duct tape keeping it closed, and I'm like, okay,
Right.
cool.
Move along.
Yep. No. That's fine.
Oh, and we're losing now. We're losing.
losing. Oh, I'm sorry. I
You
mean,
win. You
I've
win
seen
for the
nothing
most
but great
dangerous. Yeah,
things.
yeah. You win that one. Most dangerous exposed. There we go.
It's there's the reptile shows
It's
in
crossed
these.
out.
God damn it.
Fail.
There are the reptile shows in the US that are the big ones, and then there are the small ones, and you'll see some Wild West stuff at the small ones. Like
Yeah.
you're like, oh, people pulling out venomoid king cobras just to hold them for picture ops. It's like,
Venomoid. Venomoid.
Well,
That's a
yeah.
You guys have heard of the book, The Lizard King?
yes.
You've heard of that.
I read it.
Okay. Okay.
yes.
All right. So me and Owen used to live not too far from where they used to, Martin's Aquarium, where they used to have all those crazy animals.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was a kid that my dad took me to the place, and they have the reptiles that are out in the open, and then you go and like a secret knock on the door, and then you go
take
into the back, and that's where all the rattlesnakes are, and the king cobras, and the
What's the password?
yeah,
Pretty much.
exactly.
I mean,
You got a certain way to knock to get in there. You know.
yeah. Somebody sent me. Cool. Come
Who's
see the
that?
gaboons. Yeah.
Yes.
It's.
What's the password?
I mean, I remember at like the age of, I think I was like 6 or 7. You go down to that place and they had baby alligators that would just be swimming in a tank, and they I was not supervised as a child. I'm holding a baby alligator. Like, where are my parents? So like, it's that kind of stuff.
But that, of course, now builds into this. The differences is that in Australia, the anti-venom, from what I spoke to somebody the other day where we were discussing anti-venoms, and it's very straightforward in Australia. I think they've got only a couple of anti-venoms that you need to survive those bites. I mean, this is the other thing. If somebody gets bitten where you guys are, there could be a possibility that they don't have the antivenom on standby for whatever species. I mean, that's dangerous. That's dangerous stuff. To buy a gaboon without the knowledge of, can you go to your local doctor? I know in Australia, you can literally go to. They probably don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure that most of the hospitals can handle snake bites here. They all keep. Or they'll be able to take you to a hospital that carries the specific antivenom. Of course, when you get bitten here by an exotic venomous, you're absolutely stuffed. There's no way. Although I think they do produce antivenoms here for exotic species. Do you know anything about that, Darren? What is the reptile park? Do they you told us about the cobras and the stuff like that? Do they produce actual?
Yeah. They have all that, and they keep it all on site as well. So they actually have their own anti-venom at the facility, and they can ship that to a hospital if needed as well.
If somebody gets bitten,
they recommend, like, if you keep vens and if you had your class 5 and you kept taipans, for example, they say you should notify your local hospital and get on a register or something to say, hey, I live here, I keep venomous snakes, this is what I've got, so that they can have access to the anti-venom needed for it. But we do have a pretty good medical system out here, and it's also covered. Like, anti-venom vials are extremely expensive. And it could be up to $40,000 or $50,000 a vial. And if you get a nasty bite, you could have 5, 6, 7 vials pumped into your system, and it's all covered by the government. Yeah, and it does have a shelf life, and I believe from memory, I don't know if it was John Michael telling me or something like that a lot of the stuff gets sent back and then actually gets sent overseas to your third world countries because it's still usable. But out here we have to have expiry dates on everything, but they reckon it's still fine, and they send it over to places. Maybe it was David Williams or something like talking about over in PNG or something like that. So they actually do try to reuse it. Thank you. Yeah. So.
But does that count for exotic venoms, antivenoms? You wouldn't be covered under medic. You wouldn't be covered for exotic bites though. If you get bitten by if you get bitten by a cobra.
I remember years ago, Michael McFadden from Taronga Zoo was actually trying to get a list of known exotic venomous species out here for that reason. Yeah. I don't know whatever come to it, but I'd seen quite a number of, exotic species out here kept in private collections that shouldn't have been kept. Yeah. I was actually in a car park out the front of a pet shop. I was actually selling some bearded dragons, waiting for someone to turn up. And this random guy, didn't know the guy from Barrow Soap, looks over and goes, "Oh, you're selling lizards?" I'm like, "Yeah, just waiting for someone to turn up." This is back early 2000s. And he goes, "You keep snakes?" I'm like, "Yeah, keep snakes." He goes, "Oh, I've got some for sale if you're interested." And I'm like, "Oh, what do you got?" You're always curious. He disappeared, came back like 15 minutes later, opened up his boot. He had monocled cobras, he had rattlesnakes, he had. And you open the boot and you get him.
I know a guy. I know a guy.
What the hell? I'm like, nah, mate, no thanks. not interested at all. But yeah, so I know they're around, but they did try to compile some sort of list. There was eyelash vipers, there was all sorts of stuff around at the time.
I think there was an
anti-venom supply.
I think there was a guy in Victoria that got caught must have been 10 years ago. I can't remember what his name was, but he got caught with a whole collection of exotics, venomous snakes like puff adders, gaboon adders, cobras.
Someone that was bitten by an eyelash viper, didn't get a bad bite, and wouldn't go to hospital. Just said, "I'm just going to hope for the best."
I'll just walk it off. Just walk it off, man. Just walk it off.
Yeah, that's
see how this goes.
It's down under. We're tough. Yeah, should be right, mate.
You've got a necrotic finger falling off a week later. I don't need the pinky. Yeah, I don't need that. Yeah. Here we go, Aussie. Here we go. I think that's
good or bad.
You better put a cross through it. You better put a cross through one of those.
You got to knock one off. Yeah.
So I guess
everything will be fine.
So I guess in one sense you can say that America, you be able to find, you can have any venomous snake you want in the world. You might not be covered by the antivenom. In Australia, you are covered by the medical care system. If you get bitten by a local snake, maybe not so. Right. I guess I think this is a draw. I think this is a draw. I don't think there's a winner in this.
I think our medical system covers snake bite as a whole.
So maybe
ours does not. But I want to say that a hospital would be equipped for antivenom for a snake that is native. Like I think a PA hospital would have copperhead antivenom and timber rattler antivenom. But if I show up and be like, I was bitten by a mamba, then the Philadelphia Zoo is sending me anti-venom vials, and then when I live, they're going to be sending me a bill for those anti-venom vials.
And you wish you were dead after you get the bill. Yeah.
We've heard horror stories of that kind of stuff.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. And
really? I was going to say, what sort of price are you talking about for a vial over there?
It's expensive.
It's like 10, 20.
Easy 100,000.
Yeah. And the problem is while you're in the hospital, Fish and Wildlife is removing every breathing thing from your house because you've been bit by a venomous snake. You don't get these anymore. So it depending on where you are, because say the venomous rules are, it's illegal. You've broken the venomous rule. Now they're coming to get you. So like in certain states, all venomous keeping is illegal. So, and these people that have these massive venomous collections, they're always in like the worst possible place. Like, they're hiding them in a row home in Philadelphia, where not only is the snake itself illegal, but like you jackhammered the foundation to put an alligator pit in it, so it's all bad. Everything is bad.
Typical
Like,
reptile
that's
keeper.
on the
huh?
news.
Oh,
Good. So yeah.
it's good to
Wow.
know
I
I swear we're
there's-
not all this bad of keepers.
No, we're not. But dear God,
All right, you're only
My-
hearing the horror stories.
but
here.
it's-
I mean,
That's another
those are the fun
strike.
ones.
Yeah, but there's always the few that affect the many. That's how
Yeah,
it
that's
goes in
true.
every case. It's
That's
the
true.
reckless ones that get the majority, the minority that affects the majority in the long run. And yeah, I don't know. I wish people would just think a little bit. Coming from me, that's fresh. But you know, it is in the long run. It's everybody's responsibility to do the right thing, especially when you're keeping venomous things like that, because nobody needs those laws tightened because you wanted to free handle. I'm good friends with Arno Nadia in
hate
South
that.
Africa, and he made a post this week and he said it's like a car accident. It's like, you know, it's you know, if you're not playing on your phone, you probably won't cause a car accident. You know, or what did he say? He used a good analogy, but free handlers, there's no arguing that it's cool. There's no arguing that it's a good thing to hold a black mamba freehand with its head touching, tongue and there are guys on YouTube. There are guys on YouTube that I watch some of, on Instagram. You know, that's the thing now. You get like a million followers because you free handle monocle cobras and they're running through your fingers. It takes one. It
Everyone's
takes
watching
one.
for the bite. Everyone's checking back to see that one time when it happens. That's
Yeah.
what they're doing.
Because it's going to happen.
Let me see.
Exactly.
It's
They're all
a
just
matter of
waiting for
time.
that, you
It's going
know.
to happen. Yeah,
They want to see
yeah.
the one time when the mamba decides he's had enough of you, and then they want to see the pictures of your hand dissolving in the hospital. That's,
Oh, and I don't
Whenever
know
you-
if you remember, there was a kid that was doing that, and everybody.
Oh
kept
my
telling
God.
him- Remember, he was
Yeah.
like, maybe, what was he? Maybe 18, 19 years old, and
he was just old enough to that, like, he had a bunch that, and
he
I
had,
think
like,
it
a
was his mom
Sidewinder
was
or something, right?
buying them. Yeah, he had the
Yeah.
Sidewinder. Which, dear God, why are you messing with that?
yeah. Why would you hold that?
The post that he made was, he said that the free handlers are the drunk and Arno's he's one of the most capable venomous guys that I know. He assists. We had a show with him on it. He told us about how he assists the doctors and guys like that to deal with snakebite in South Africa, which is a very, you know, it's a big problem. Puff adders are everywhere.
yeah.
I mean, it's a issue in Africa. It's not like you can just get antivenom. He said his post was, free handlers are the drunk drivers of the reptile world. You can protest all you like about knowing yourself and the car or snake, but one day is one day. And we've seen that. There's guys that, I've seen videos of guys being tagged by one of their best snakes they've never, and get tagged on the finger by a king cobra. And you go, was it really, why? Why do you have to hold those animals? Why? I don't
I
understand.
know a few of those stories.
Yeah.
People doing the same. Your guy used to had a red belly, had it for almost 20 years, never bitten, was the most docile thing, except one day he was doing something with his rats, forgot about it, and went to take the red belly out to give it a clean, nailed him. Never bitten him in like almost 20 years. Another one, I knew a guy illegally sold a red belly to a guy. The guy got home thinking it was like any other snake, was playing with it, bit him. So he rang the guy and said, "Oh, it just bit me. What do I do?" "Oh, don't worry, it's just a red belly." "Oh, okay." The guy collapsed at the dinner table, passed out in his dinner plate,
Jesus.
and was rushed to a hospital in critical condition because he had a reaction to the bite. And that's a thing a lot of people don't realize. It might not necessarily be the snake bite that can kill you. If you're allergic to the antivenom,
Your
you can have
reaction.
you know, yeah, that's exactly right. Go into anaphylactic shock from the antivenin itself. But
I knew a guy in South Africa as well that night adders aren't necessarily red lip herald. Red lip heralds are mildly venomous, so they use their venom to chew on frogs, and you know it's a beautiful little snake. I mean, it's an entry level. You catch it down at the you know, catch it down at the lake because they like wet areas where there's lots of amphibians around. But I knew a guy, a very good friend of mine, got bitten, and it wasn't even mildly venomous. He had such a reaction. He had an allergic reaction to that venom, such a strong reaction that he was bitten. I think he got bitten by far more dangerous snakes before that. But that snake, he was he was exceptionally allergic to that specific snake. It's never killed anybody else, but this guy was on life support from that. So I mean, you don't know what your body's gonna do until you get bitten.
Right.
And
That's
then you have
right.
to hope you fall in.
I'm highly allergic to bees. I get stung by a bee.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to carry an EpiPen,
Yeah.
and I have to go to hospital straight away. And it's a bee. I know other people, that actually work in apiaries with bees would sting themselves, to keep up an antibody towards the bee sting itself. Never affected them at all. And that's the thing. You don't know. You just, of course, Fred over here gets bitten by a venomous snake and goes, oh, I didn't get a reaction. And then Bill over here gets bitten by the same snake. He gets a reaction because there's an allergy part of it. He can die and he won't. So you can't ever trust that you're going to be safe. You should always treat them with respect, because it will happen. It's only a matter of time. And every venomous keeper I know has been bitten.
So I guess
when they start to get complacent.
Yeah, so I guess it's the what we have to take away from that is that both, that's the same thing across the board. In Australia, wherever you are in the world, it's just do the right thing. It's not
smart.
Be smart, and it's not the majority of people don't do that. So, but the majority of people will pay the price if it goes horribly wrong. It's like. There was a guy in England that also got bitten and killed by a king cobra, and it caused such an uproar. It's the same that when scrub pythons kill people in Australia. We spoke about it the other night on the show. It was a keeper down in South Australia that got strangled. Right. It doesn't take much. I'm sure all of you saw that video of the. Is it a guy in India that had the Burmese?
He passes out because it wrapped around his neck.
And people are just standing there going, is this all part of the show? He's lying there, dying. People are just going, is this part of that?
Yay, what's next?
It's a very real show, isn't it?
It's awesome.
And it takes minutes.
Take pictures. It's one of those things where, you have to treat a venomous like it's a very dangerous venomous animal, regardless of what's going on. I had a friend who had a cobra that went through the venomoid surgery, so the ducts to the fangs were cut and the venom glands were removed.
Yeah.
It bit him.
Is that legal? Is that legal where you guys are? Is it a legal process to devenomize?
Yeah, but it's a hit or miss whether it number one takes and also if the animal does well afterwards. But he got bit by the cobra and he had a reaction.
Yeah,
it's because you get complacent. It's never bitten before. I've had carpets downstairs that I raised from hatchlings all the way up to adulthood. But if I'm feeding the babies a fuzzy, they're like, I'll eat that. And then now I'm getting bit. The snake's going to be a snake regardless of what you're doing. It's usually keeper error that results in these kind of bites. And
100%. They show no emotion, so you don't know how they're going to react.
Exactly. So what was there's some video of some woman trying to pull out a retic out of a tank, and it was like, and like that video started, and I'm like, no,
it's fluffy.
No, don't touch that. Like
in
the body language is no. Like the body language is
in the rodent room.
Oh my god, it's that kind of stuff. With the stuck
video
shed.
For everything you shouldn't do.
All of it was wrong, but it's like you got to understand. It's like, again, those were obvious triggers that somebody wasn't watching. And again, some, like what Darren just said, a lot of times with venomous and with other creatures, they don't even give you the slight. They might move its head to the left, and that was your sign, and you missed it. Yep. So it's just, you have to treat them like that. But too many times you watch these venomous keepers, and they're playing with their own safety and their own lives, and they're like, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, until you do get bit, and that's all. It's on you. But then what you do affects everybody else. So
I guess that's
it's only that one little slip too. It's just the one little slip.
One time.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's all it takes.
I guess the good thing is, though, in the US you do have the likes of US Arc that does. If they are a godsend, like US Arc. That's just the fact that people. I can't remember. Were there people opposing them in the start, or was it always accepted that they were I remember they did go through
Uh,
some turmoil. It's when Andrew, was it Andrew White? What was the guy that was in the board of
Yeah.
That's a
directors?
name I haven't heard in a while. Yeah.
Andrew White, yeah.
There was,
Yeah.
I mean, they were up, and then when there was a little bit of turmoil there, he started his own thing on the side. I can't think that I've seen anything from the second group that started. But
don't know
US
where that one
Arc, you
was
know,
called.
US Arc, you've got US Arc that does go out there and bat for you guys if the shit eats a fan. To try
Yeah, I
and
think
they
we're
have had
extremely lucky here in
Yeah.
the States to have US Arc.
Yeah.
I think that has saved us a lot of. I mean, they were just going to pass a bill not too long ago with the COVID
using
relief,
it. Yeah.
where they were trying to ban importation of everything.
Animals. Period. Like that was
Everything.
it. Just all. Yep.
We were going full Australia. That's
Mhm.
what we were doing.
Blanket ban. That's the best. We'll just blanket ban that. Okay,
Yeah.
but why? No. We don't need to give you excuses. We'd rather ban everything than just make exceptions. That's how it works. It's unfortunately just how it works.
And the
I mean,
good thing
that's why,
about
like,
US
US
Arc
Arc
too is they
Good.
go state from state.
Yeah.
You know, so like you like Owen was saying earlier, you know, every state is going to have different laws.
Yeah. So they've got
And every
specialists.
city is going to have different laws, but they'll make you aware of those, and you know, it helps a lot.
It doesn't mean we should just like,
Be
do whatever we
complacent.
want and really make it hard for them. I mean, maybe we should kind
No.
of not do that.
Yeah.
Like, don't go out there and try to make US Arc's got enough to do. We don't need to give
I'd feel-
legislatures reasons. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Let's. I think let's talk about snakes again. What are we? Let's not.
As in ones that aren't venomous.
I gotta say, I'll tell it. Let's talk snakes. I gotta say that I never in a million years thought that this combination would turn out the way it did. But holy hell, is those albino breadlie?
Yeah, talk
Oh
to
my
that.
god! I give you guys a point for that.
what are you doing?
Holy
What are
You-
you doing?
you
Why
got-
are you? What?
You got the
Come
two
on,
guys
man.
here. You
No,
got the
mute him. No,
you-
I
you
refuse.
got the- you got
There's
the
a line I don't
listen.
cross.
you got the original
You know what
guy.
I,
I mean, you got
I
the
find-
albino.
You got the guy that
albino
made the
breadlie
heads.
up there, and the silver pepper down here. I mean, we're done.
What
What are you
is
gonna
happening?
do? That's why
happening?
we're diverting the conversation about US Arc and venomous. And
Yeah, we sort of we're biding our time before we bring out the cannons. But you got you got the two guys here that you got Darren that really we spoke about it yesterday. I'm going to go to the toilet quickly. These guys haven't heard the story of how you made those hats because there was a bit involved. We touched on it yesterday. Maybe just give them a rundown of how you made those original hats. I'll be back in 2 seconds.
Yeah. Well, it's actually funny because I over there, you obviously have quite a lot of crosses with jags, zebras, caramels, albinos,
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff. But when I first, and I'll go back to was when I actually did the breadlie over the albino or albino over my breadlie girl. I'd actually spoken to Todd Dyer over there, and we were chatting about because obviously Nick Mutton has the genetic stripes, the what are the other ones?
Stonewash.
Stonewash.
Stonewash. And I said to Tim, I said, mate, why don't you get your hands on some of those? Why aren't you guys working those genetic mutations into other stuff? And it's almost like breadlie. To do that is like sacrilege. It's
It
like,
is.
oh no, you don't
It
go with
is.
breadlie. I'm like, why not? Why? What is it about breadlie that makes it different to any other carpet thing? And I couldn't get it. I couldn't understand it. So that's a topic I want to come back to and chat to you guys about. But yeah, we were talking yesterday because it's actually a funny story. Brent told me we were talking one year, and he goes, "Oh, my niece had actually tried to put an albino over a breadlie for like 10 years. I think you said it was, Brent." And I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "I'll have a crack at that." Bang. First season out, I think I got 36 hatched out or something like that. But when I was cooling and breeding, I only got pretty much a week's window of opportunity from what had happened. Some temps had warmed up. Obviously, breadlie are a bit more of a late season breeder. Temps had warmed up. The other animals that were in the rack where the breadlie were had already ovulated. So I'd bumped the temps up slightly during the nighttime. So I'd reduce the nighttime drops. and I'd warmed the girls up a little bit. After the albino male had finished with these girls, I thought, you know what, I'll had the conversation with Brown. I thought, you know, I'll whack him in and see what happens, and put him in one day. They were locked up that afternoon. I left them in for 4 or 5 days, and one day I went, I'll just see how they go. And I opened the drawer up, and the albino literally launched out and almost took my face off. I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? That's not how a male acts this time of year. And
Food time.
food time, yeah. And he'd literally been in there for not even a week, and they hooked up 3 or 4 times during that period, and obviously sired a good healthy clutch. But I did it for that reason, and then I'm like, I've got so much other work going on, obviously with the Silver Pepper project and the combos there, that it was more a bit of a dinker project, I suppose, on the side for everything else. So I thought, I'll just put them there, and I'll just plot them along and feed them. And Brent bought a trio and a couple other mates and sold a few here and there, and he just pummeled his with food. And I thought, oh, they should make some nice babies, but I really didn't think. And then when Brett hatched them out, I'm like, oh, you idiot! Why did you sell those?
Yeah, I saw that and I went, oh.
Yeah,
I saw a little bit of potential there.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, same thing. But yeah,
and you know, Brent contacted me, showed me and I said to him, yeah, you get into that. That's like, and you're happy you did now.
That'll be good.
I reaffirmed your first suspicions, like that'd be a good mix.
And funny enough, I'm probably the same as everyone else. I never believed they would be that good at 50% Bredli blood. I thought at 75 or 88% we'll see some stuff that we've seen already at 50%. Makes me think, how good could these be down the track? So there's variation for sure. There's some really yellow, there's some really orange. There's different more Darwin pattern bandings. There's more Bredli dog bone pattern in some. Like there's striping in some. It's crazy. It's such a mixed basket. So
why
looking forward making 75% heads this year to push down the track and see some things that could unlock.
So why is that is it still such a no in the US?
Yes.
Let's talk.
Eric? Go ahead.
I mean,
do it.
Is it such a? Why is it such a? I know that even in the early days, because I made the jungle crosses and I made the Murray Darling crosses, and the Murrays look different as well. If even 50% Murrays, they have like the Bredli of the oranges, and the Murrays have more like a pinky, like a lot of pink running through them. But right. I remember the Aussies used to be hard on that. That was a big no 10 years ago to do that, to make those original crosses. By the time that Darren made the Bredli, it was sort of a little bit easy. People were a little bit more relaxed about it. But what's the deal?
It's much
Why
like green trees now? If you say you're going to make a Carpondro here, it's like, oh my God, what are you doing? You cannot do that. And I guess that's probably what the Bredli is in the States, that you just do not do that.
Yeah, but there's
Carpondros. You don't tell anybody.
Yeah, but there's but in the US there's
Jag Pondros.
Yeah, Jag Pondros now, and the guys seem to. I love the look of them. There's stuff there.
They look very nice. I can't do it. It's like I cannot do it. So
can you remember?
See some albinos. Who's doing the albino?
Yeah, you're just told something by the people that you are, look up to, I guess, if you want to put it that way, or you learn from. And that's just always been a no. It's like
there's the
disconnect. I think maybe it comes from the fact that we like with jungles, you don't know whether diamond blood was mixed in with it, because at one point in the early days, they kind of mixed them in there, and then you got all these people going around saying they want a pure jungle, and then there's the debate on whether it's pure or not pure, where you guys have a bigger gene pool where we have a smaller gene pool, and it's like trying to protect that gene pool. So jungles and coastals mixing together, okay, that's okay, because that's been done. Jungles and diamonds, that's been done, so that's sort of allowed. And Irian Jayas or Papuan carpets, that's allowed. But like the newer stuff, like inlands, the Bredli, You know,
Diamonds.
even
Yeah.
Darwin's
Yeah.
is kind of like, no, you know,
No.
See,
unless it's albino.
what I don't get, if you're in your collection, you have a pair of bredli. You're breeding bredli, so you're breeding. Yep, and you're breeding
Yeah.
pure bredli. What is the harm of putting that male bredli over an albino?
The harm comes in is that in the States, people are a lot of concerned.
There's no harm.
Yes,
no
no, there's no,
Yeah,
there's
or
nothing wrong with it.
disapproval of it.
There you go. The
The
disapproval comes in is that, you know, it's one of those things where I will sell it and I will represent it as the way it should be, but then the next guy may not care enough to know, and he'll just label it as a bredli. And then somebody who wants to build up a bredli project goes and buys that mix and breeds it to his bredli, and then is shocked when he gets a weird looking thing or something else happens. Basically, they don't want to muddy the waters. If you want to do it yourself, that's fine, but it's hard to represent animals when they come out looking like a normal bredli. One time I took Eric to a show, and somebody had crossed a coastal carpet python with a Macklot's python.
Oh.
And it looked like a weird colored, ugly coastal. You could not see
it was a new morph.
Yeah, you could have thought it was something, a dinker project or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was labeled as they called them carplots. Something stupid. Like it's bad.
Where's your car in the car plot over there?
Yeah, but that's exactly. Yeah. But the thing is, it's labeled that here. Some guy buys it. He gives it to a friend. He gives it to somebody else or sells it to somebody else. Eventually, when does that thing just become, it looks like a carpet python? It's a carpet python.
Yeah.
But what difference does that make to any other of the, you know, potential combos that are floating around? For someone, you mentioned jungles and diamonds, for example. You go, oh, yeah, it's pure jungle. Well, how do you know?
There's question marks in every jungle lineage. It just depends on how far back is it okay to have your question mark.
Even then, you don't know. I mean,
exactly.
You're the one that, you know,
grabbed it from the ground and put it in the box. You don't know.
Yeah. That's what I tell people all the time.
Exactly.
Right. If you want to, you know, work with locality animals, you should probably do gray banded king snakes or something like that. You know?
We can get those here. Collect them yourself.
You can actually go and collect them, and you know that it's like mile marker 76 is where I got this snake from.
The issue comes in is that people seem to, they want to build their projects, but they don't want to go to the people who have the pure bloodline and have all the stock. They want to be able to just go to the reptile show and pick up a pure jungle off of a dealer's table and throw it into their projects. And that's not how it works.
Yeah.
So
tell me
that's where a lot of the stuff goes down.
Crap in, crap out, right?
Exactly.
Crap in, crap out.
You guys, was it a Boland's cross carpet that I've seen Boland's cross carpets? I've seen rough
This
scale
interview
cross
is
carpet.
over.
But I think it was. I think, and I saw rough scale cross carpet as well. I've seen photos. I'm sure you guys have seen that. Did you see that? Where was that? I remember seeing somebody post a rough scale cross, and you know what? You could swear it was a coastal. You could see a rough scale mixed into a carpet looks like just a carpet, and he's like, that's the problem. I think.
I think the problem comes into this. I don't know if you guys get this question, but what's my carpet python? And over here in the States, that seems to be, you know, you have somebody that's coming into carpets. You know, it can be confusing. You got the subspecies, you got the localities, you got the different morphs, and this morph is with this, you know, subspecies, and you know, and on and on. And it can get confusing when you're coming from the ball python world, where you can take, you know, raspberry, you know, cinnamon, you know, whatever.
Are these actually ball python
breed
morphs?
it to a spider and whatever. And at the end of the day, it's always going to be a ball python. So there's no question in what it is. And carpets really are never for a lot of people, they're like the next level, you know? So they start out with like corn snakes or ball pythons or something like that. And then they move up to the next thing. Well, they think that same way that they approached a ball python is how they approach carpet python. So they think that, like, when they have this, you know, we'll call it, I don't know what you guys call it, I guess sibs, right? You know, like the same, or the what's
non-jag ones,
the byproduct, if you will.
Yeah,
you know,
the cast off.
that they'll buy that because it's cheap at a show, and then they'll say, and then all of a sudden it looks like a coastal, it becomes a coastal carpet.
Yeah.
And then now it starts to mess up the gene pool and all that. So
Well, we had
It's always
that. Yeah,
a breeder
we.
responsibility.
Yeah.
Breeders need to just declare what it is. That's the same with anything. People need to be honest with what they've made and sell it for what it is.
That's where it stems from. Like if you go back, the same thing out here. You go back to 2000s when say Aussie Pet and Reptiles took off and everything, and there was this purists versus the mutation people sort of thing. And
Sure.
I used to always tell people, look, what you do in your place is your business. As long as whatever it is you do, you are honest about it. Because a lot of people go, oh, my diamond accidentally bred with my jungle. It's like, well, how did they mysteriously get into the same enclosure?
How'd that happen? Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like, well, providing when you sell the animal, you're saying it's a diamond cross jungle, so that whoever buys it, and referencing that to what you guys do over there, if you're doing the right thing, what happens from then on is there's nothing you can do about it. Like, when I breed stuff here, like I have a pure line of silver peppers, which I work with, and then I've got the outcrosses I do as well. So when I'm selling stuff, people will say, oh, have you got any pure hets? I'm like, no, I've sold out. I do have sibling hets if you're interested in that. And some of those are, 88% or 75% MDs. But there's an honesty that I have as a breeder that I can't sell you or mislabel. It's not about money or monetary gains for me. It's about a hobby and a passion that I love to do, or else you wouldn't be here for 20 years,
Right.
So where do you draw the line? You've taken your albino, you've put it with your bredli, you've grown it up, you've got some poss hets, and you've got, working with the hets and so on, you've got a couple of albinos and everything, and you sell it onto the guy. You've done the right thing. That guy could then sell it on to the next person, do the right thing, and so on and so forth, till you get someone who goes, oh, I don't know what it is, I'll just sell it as a pure bredli.
Yeah.
It's, where do you draw a line at responsibility? It's not your responsibility. You've done the right thing when you've sold it on. And if that person's that way, I would question whether they're in it for the right reasons, as in a true passion for the animals, or, hey, I bought this, I'm going to label it that because it's worth more, so then I'm just going to flog it off so I can make a bit of extra cash. But where do you draw a line?
I have no doubt, though, that there would be Americans working, there would be guys in America working on projects like that. They just won't tell people about it. Due to a fear of backlash. I mean, it wouldn't be somebody would just one day come and say, look at this albino, and with this bright orange thing, and people will start to probe. I mean, there would be guys with it. I mean, people are all the same. If they see something that they like, they might, if it's frowned upon, they just will do it under the radar. It's as simple as that.
But that creates another problem, which I was saying years ago as well. If you cross something, you would get flamed to death. The pure, you mutt breeder, scumbag, piece of garbage, blah, 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 blah. And it creates that mentality, exactly what you said. Oh, I'm going to do it. I'm going to keep it quiet. Then I'm just going to pop up and go, oh, look at this cool albino I've bred. And you're going to lie about it. Well, not myself, but people lie about it because they don't want to cop the flaming that goes with it. If people were honest, and I've always said this, honest with their breedings in the first place, and people just, whether you agree or not is not the point. You don't need to get on the bandwagon and go, oh, you're a mutt breeder. It is what it is. It's done. You can't change it, whether you agree or not. You go, oh, geez, I don't really like that. You don't have to, get on the hate bandwagon to go along.
But I never understood the purest point of view where they come and they trash the morph breeders for crossing stuff. Because if I was a purist and that's all I did was just breed pure stuff, my thought would be that eventually somebody's going to want pure stock. Exactly. And my stock is now more valuable because I'm the only one doing it. So why are you, I never understand the idea of knocking somebody else down to bring yourself up.
Yeah, but
you just do your thing. And people, if you're doing it because you love it, there's going to be people that come along and is going to love that as well, know?
And what we've seen in Australia is I would say it's pretty harmonious at the moment. The morph guys work alongside the pure line guys. And you could
Yeah.
still go and you could still go to somebody like Roger Lester and get a Lester line. And there's other guys that work with Roger's pure stuff. And his striped jungles are just so unique that you cannot argue that it's a Lester line jungle.
Right.
And they still kick out those really black and yellow, thick, solid striped jungles are still in a class of their own. Nothing touches that. And guys work, and now you saw there's a Max have got those. I saw they posted a video of the hookup with one of those, two of those really. And it's I'm a striped guy. I love striped. The striped carpets. I don't think there's anything nicer than a striped carpet in my books.
Guilty.
And you
Tigers are always good.
like,
Always good.
but those really thick stripes, like the Aussies make.
Yeah.
You know, like I like the tiger stuff in the US, but there's something about these thick black bands or striping, and nobody does that anymore. So it's a good, now we can work alongside each other. Some guys work with a pure jungle stuff. In saying that though, it is a striped jungle, so they would be around. But they're not in the numbers that they used to be. Roger also, I don't think Roger makes them that much anymore. But fantastic, and I don't understand why. I don't understand why it can't be the same. People like Nick is known for. People will go where they can get what they want. So Nick makes his pure line stuff. There's guys that work with pure line chondros. They are the elite. We all know the Morelia Viridis people are in a league of their own, above all,
they're ball pythons that sit in trees. Anyway, but the thing is like, and I kind of wish that we kind of had a little bit more of a designer part, because it's like chondros, you have the pures, then you have the designers where they'll just, I want blue in this, and they'll just get it. It would kind of feel like, okay, but as long as you label your stuff as it's a mixed carpet, there's tons of stuff going in there. It is what it is. And the problem is like people want to be able to go to a show and grab a carpet and then plug it into pure projects, and don't understand why you shouldn't do that. You should just go to the breeder that's working with the pure stuff. It's kind of laziness and a disconnect that is just weird with carpet pythons, where it's like, why can't I just grab this thing off a table and go breed it to my pure Brisbane coastal and make cool looking babies? I'm like, because now you've mixed like IJ Diamond with coastal, and you're not going to get the same price as a pure Brisbane. And there's kind of like a disconnect with that. And it's like, why is this so hard? So, but hey, if you want to take that and make funky looking carpets, do it, but just label everything correctly. And
100%.
Everybody seems to want to take each other's heads off with that kind of stuff. Like, Eric's made crosses that I'll never do. I'll never do it. I can't do it. I cannot do it. I'm like, oh God, no. And then, I can appreciate that animal, and I can appreciate, my friend Billy Hunt works with Jag Chondros. They're weird. They're like green jaguars. I kind of like it, but I can't do it. I just, it's not my cup of tea. So I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. So whatever.
See, every year that you guys in Australia breed something cool, my line like moves a couple inches to where
you're slowly pushing into a dark place.
It's like,
stop it.
That's where the light is. You just haven't seen it yet.
There's a place for that stuff.
I'll never do it. And then he's like,
I've said on
maybe.
the podcast so many times, like, I'll never cross these. I'll never. And it's like,
it's that line.
Well,
it's,
maybe. Yeah.
It's what the dark web is for that stuff.
Yeah,
whatever you want on the dark
corrupting
web.
him.
I mean, gee.
I always find it amazing. People message me and say, I want to buy a pure coastal something, or a pure Darwin. And I say, oh, that's cool. What do you want to do with it? Oh, I want to breed it to my Murray and my Bradley and something else. But they're so specific. It has to be a pure animal to start the mud project. I just don't get that whole thing of, and I say,
I've had that.
This,
I've had that regularly with peppers.
Yeah.
Oh, have you got any males? Yeah, I've got this, that, and the other. Oh, got any pure ones? Yeah, but what's the point of having a pure one if you don't have a female? Oh yeah, but I want to put it over my albino, and I want to put it. It's like, why does it have to be pure then?
Yeah,
why? If you're going to cross it, it makes no difference. At the end of the day, you're after the gene mutation.
Yeah.
That's what you want. You want the pattern changer in the genetic side of it, whether it's pure or not. If you want to make pure animals, then you need a pure line to start with.
Yeah,
But it's
I
I
haven't-
tried to
don't get it.
push. I tried to push the idea that if you're going to do crosses, that you should try to take advantage of some of these siblings that people kind of like
Yeah.
push off, because you can find specific colors or patterns or whatever from from crossing these things, and just the normals of the clutch. If
Yeah.
you keep continuing to breed that, selectively breed that, you're going to make even better whatever the morph you're after is going to be even better. I
Yeah.
mean, look at the albino bread
What?
holy shit.
But-
Do you have a fever?
Oh,
What is
sorry.
wrong with you right
Yeah,
now?
you haven't got the hits yet, Eric.
Yeah, I'll bet you. I'll bet you.
Not yet. No,
I bet
not
you.
yet.
Hang on,
gotta-
let's throw another spinner into it. You go
Unpack this.
albino.
I'm going to take it up a notch.
No, don't do it.
Genetic stripe.
No,
The genetic stripe
that's
red
where I
line
was going.
to the albino.
he's got a stonewash. Stop
Yes.
him. Like, he's
Yeah.
also got
No.
hypos. It could go lots of places here, guys. I mean,
Yeah.
I have to commandeer his breadlie if he's
It
going
might
to
be
keep
like albino in the stonewash, make stonewash breadlie albino. It's like, hello. And then you go, right, now I'm going to throw that into stripe and get stripe.
hypo
Stonewash
stripe
albino
stonewash
breadlie.
albino. It's like
And-
it's hypo stripe stonewash albino is what Eric's
You
going
want
to try
to really make people mad in the U.S.? If I bred the albino to the reduced pattern diamond.
Or
Get it done.
you
hurts.
you
But
actually
see,
you
but if
actually
you throw a male
yeah, you,
reduced pattern diamond over an albino, it's not costing your
Yeah.
diamond project any detriment at all. You can
Correct.
still work that pure project. You're not taking the female out of the equation. You're still putting the male with it. That project is often going, and it was
Right.
the same. Like
See, now you're
using the
making sense to
male
me.
to
Nah,
create.
yeah, that's the
he's selling.
disconnect.
It's a good salesman. Now, and the worst thing is, I've been watching the striped breadlie over there, and I'm going, "Are you guys insane? Why do you not put that
Most
genetic
likely.
recessive into other stuff?"
Everything.
Ghost
It's a
line,
it's a
albino
recessive.
line.
It is a genetic trait. It's the one thing I think we don't have yet. That would just blow over stuff. I mean, you'll have to, but that halfway there. Put it to an albino in the next generation. You'll potentially hatch albino striped, orange. It's not that hard. Oh,
Yeah.
you can go
Now
hypo
throw a
as well.
stonewash pattern into it, and we are.
Yeah,
Where's my
I get it.
notepad? Where's my
Yeah.
notepad?
Quick, the tone book, like quick scratch out things. But the worry is, I think a lot of people are just worried about once you get it in there, you can't get it out with like morph projects. I know with Eric, he was working with the black IJs, and if you don't breed it to an IJ, I think somebody bred it to a Jag before Eric got it, and if Eric hadn't gotten it, it would have been mixed with coastal, and then that's it. That morph project is no longer ever going to be pure again.
Yeah.
So I have no problem if you're going to mix stuff, just maybe toss it in with toss it in with another breadlie or another diamond, a pure diamond, and then go do whatever the hell you want with it over there. Like what Darren was saying, if it's a male and you want to breed it to a normal female diamond and then throw it with whatever, fine, don't care. But a lot of times people seem to think that they only have one lane, one project, and that's what they're going to do. Like,
I personally think though, I'm still stuck on this hypo stripe thing. sorry, Owen. I'm
the hypo breadlie. Well, I mean, hypo breadlie are gorgeous.
Hypo. If you can
And
if you
then-
can use a hypo striped breadlie over an
Then there are lines
albino,
of breadlie too that are different colors. I mean, you could go
That'd
all
be
these
nice.
different ways. Eric, are you writing things down? Look at me.
Yeah.
What are you doing? So it's,
You guys
Message
ever
me,
seen
Eric.
the,
We'll talk.
no, don't
he's
do
looking-
it.
he's looking
But
for a
You
photo.
can do a lot of stuff, and you could literally get a hypo albino stripe, and I that animal will probably be gorgeous.
Yeah.
That's
I reckon
it's not my
sick.
cup of tea, but
I would
I will
if
be the
you
first.
saw it though. You'd
You're
have a little
damn right it
taste
would
and
be.
go,
Like,
"Ooh,
it's-
yeah, hello."
It'll be. I'll be the first one to be like that.
Give it
thing
the
is
sniff test.
gorgeous.
Yeah, you.
What are
You're
you doing?
beautiful. Yeah.
I was sending him a picture of a stonewash Bredel Jag.
that.
Oh yeah, the one from Don Patterson. I saw that. Was
Yeah,
it the one from Don Patterson?
Yeah.
I saw that and I
Beautiful.
went, "What is that?" And that black
Oh
thing.
my God!
I haven't seen anything of his. What happened to his that black snake that he had? Almost looked
Is that a
pixelated.
diamond? The dark
A
one
jungle.
you're
He
talking
hatched it from
about?
a jungle.
No,
No,
it's
Don Patterson had
junk.
this.
Yeah.
That thing was. Let me just quickly check here. So what is this?
We haven't talked to him in a while. We might have to have him like that. That's I think partially when we have return guests, it's because Eric's keeping tabs on their collection, so he wants them to keep coming back so he can be like, yes, that one, I'll buy that later.
That
so,
has that has darkened up a bit. I remember he had one that was even better than that though. There was one that was like real yellow, lots of like scream. Like so it's partly scream, the scream jag.
Yeah.
But why the scream jags look the way they look over there? You know, you wonder what's in that mix because we've
it's
got
like the
bread
gamma
line.
jags.
You know,
I mean,
Yeah.
you've seen that. I know Martin. I know you've
Morelia,
gone
yeah,
many
yeah.
times. Martin Morelia. He has. He works. He's probably after John let stop working with him. He's probably the guy that's next in line that's really pushing them. But yeah, I have one of them, and I'm telling you, man, there's something about that line that's just.
Do you think it could have been a trifecta mix? I always thought there might have been a little bit of diamond in there. It just
Oh, there is. Yeah.
On Scream or
diamond Bredli Jags.
Gamma.
Diamond Bredli Jags.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what was in those first? I mean, what was in the Jag? You know what the.
I think it was a diamond jag.
Man, it's crazy. We'll make them. They'll make them. Yeah, like that's what I said. Like Glenn Thomas had a hypo caramel Bredli zebra jag at the Penrith Expo, and it was one of the best snakes I saw. Darren had that combination of zebra jag, like the one that you had at the Penrith Expo, Darren, the one that I said, man, that's one of the best. And I've made some good looking zebra jags, and that thing was like next level yellow, and the hypo caramel, caramel, you know how much I love caramels and hypos. It's just fantastic. But the caramel Bredli zebra jag that he had was also like different tones, but beautiful, high color, like nice base colors. That's what we all want to. We want to open a drawer and have a beautiful carpet sitting there at an adult size. That's what we all strive for. That's what the ball python guys, guys try to do that to get baby ball pythons to look the way they look like when they're young, when they're adults. Carpet guys want their hatchlings to look better because then when they're adults, they look crazy.
Really good. Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's interesting. So, I don't think there's a winner there. I think you guys don't. You guys don't condone the interspecies or the intersubspecies, intersubspecific crossing.
I just sent you that.
Did you send something more?
Line zeb jag.
Oh yes.
Put up that.
I mean,
again,
it's you can do it, but keep pure lines pure. And if it matters to you, go to the right people. That's it.
Wow,
that's pretty.
Yeah, it's nice.
Damn, look at that back stripe.
Yeah, that solid striping. I love stripes.
See, the problem is like years ago, Eric's like, I'm gonna make striped zebra jags. I'm like, that's impossible. And then he like does it, and I'm like, God damn it! Like it's supposed to be impossible.
See, Eric, you're a pioneer, mate. Just keep going the right path. The rest will follow.
Just
follow in the Aussies' footsteps.
Just block them out.
His mission right now is just to take everything I've said and just like cram it down my throat that I was wrong. So
he's on the right path.
He's doing well so far. He's crushing it. Yeah.
That is one of the. That's
nice.
one of Darren's nice ones as well.
The caramel one.
That thing's head pattern. Look at the neck and the head. It's
like
just
a pin
perfect.
Stripe. That's
perfect.
nuts.
Beautiful.
Some of the babies from that thing. That's also head albino. So.
Oh yeah, no, just rub it in.
So many things in there. It's just.
I don't think we've seen this photo. This must be an. And then of course we've got the this guy. I haven't seen this photo. Is this a new photo that you've taken, or is this one of the?
No,
ones
it's probably one of the early ones of the albino pepper when it first tastes out.
That is going to be so intense when it gets older. Let me just see.
Yeah,
I know you had
it's
another
just a
photo here. Of it.
Prick of a feeder, unfortunately. It'll assist feed, but it has zero food response.
Got a chunky head on it.
That's after it's like I've just literally put the mouse in its mouth and put it back in the tub, and it tries to get out of it, then goes, oh, it's food, and eats it like So at least no worries. But
It's got a,
it's the
it's got
blood
a,
red eyes that just are awesome.
That's nuts.
it's got a good, it's got a good, nice chunky head on it as well. It's like a real short snout on it.
Yeah, there's I've actually got another one. I haven't really photographed or shared it yet, because that's more your typical traditional pepper pattern.
Yeah.
But if you look through some of those photos I sent you this morning, when he says one of the striped
Oh yeah.
peppers. So and all this striping stuff is coming up from the
See.
double heads. So that's
Was it a
pure
big?
albino Darwin over the pure peppers. And I actually have an albino. When it hatched out, I wasn't sure what it was, but it had the solid red eyes. And it's now starting to get, just starting to see the striping pattern
Oh, look at
through the front
this.
of it.
This
I'm like,
is-
oh, it is a pepper. It's like
this
another
is-
albino pepper. But
I
that's
mean,
a
look at
patternless
that.
one. That's from
I'll
the photos
talk.
probably aren't as good as what it looks like.
I'll
That's
t-
just sitting back here.
I'll
It's
t-
eating well.
I'll talk so you can see it
I'll
pop
take
up.
it.
There
Send
we
it
go.
to me.
Look at it.
Hang on, I'll get it on the teleporter.
Cool, perfect. Eric usually does this thing every year where he'll just show me pictures of these gorgeous animals, and I'm like, it looks good. Show me after a couple sheds. And he's like, why aren't you excited? I'm like, because I'm going to get more excited after
Oh,
it
look
sheds a
at
couple
this.
times. Like, I want to see it. I want to see it develop a little bit more.
Yeah,
And-
get a bit of size and bit of food into it, and yeah, they really.
And that's what I
change a
want to
lot.
see.
I mean, look
You
at
know.
this. I mean, look at this. I don't think I've seen anything like that. Like, I haven't seen this snake before. Like, Darren, you must have. Every
that-
time I see photos from you, I go, I've
Jesus.
not seen the snake. And that's a
That's-
big snake. You can see
that
the head
is-
on that thing. Look at that snake.
That's actually 100% head pepper as well.
Oh,
That's
you make me sick.
actually up to size for breeding this season.
Oh,
It was
wow.
quite a picky feeder, and I've been able to work through it. And last season it was borderline. I actually put a pepper in with it, but never responded. And then
Yeah.
when it came out, it didn't want to eat. I'm like, oh, far out. You know, going back to where it started. And probably about 2 months ago, it went back on the tooth and started feeding again. And oh, mate, I just absolutely pummeled it with food.
Yeah, you can see.
I'll just keep smashing it. So it's good, healthy size. That's a fairly recent photo of it. So hopefully, I'll put on. It was the only one in the clutch that hatched out like that. That color, that striping, everything else. Oh, that should get you guys all excited.
We've of course got these though as well
Yeah.
that you were coming
That's
to
the
see these.
imbricata.
Is that imbricata?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, see, no, you said the magic word. No, you
Stop
can't
it.
do that to him.
Tissues.
I mean, he was supposed to go looking for imbricata, and then the trip got canceled. I had to cradle him in my arms as he wept like a baby. I was horrible.
He would have been sad.
So
He would have
true.
been so sad. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Hopefully, have some luck with imbricata this year. So.
Oh, have you still got him? I didn't even know you still had him. And yeah, of course, just the
Yeah, yeah.
classic. Here's the classic old. What is that? Tell me that's probably his head for zebra, head for sort of pepper as well.
That was actually an animal I bought off Cameron Meredith. He was
Ah, yes.
producing a number of years ago like some really cool MD based jags. They're 75% MD jags,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
because I'd had the pepper project coming along, I had some other jags, but I wanted the higher percentage MD so I could make a higher percentage MD jag again.
Yeah.
And that has produced, there's a couple of other jags I sent you pics of.
Yeah,
That
so
has
many
produced
pics.
some two absolutely cracking, 88% MD jags, so which
they-
obviously hit pepper. So when they get up to size, but
I was
I
just
put a pic of them not long ago and had all these people messaging me, oh, how much you sell these for? I'm like, they're not going to be cheap and they are not for sale.
I was just going through the second lot of photos. I only realized there's a first lot of.
I just went through the thing. I was just hitting buttons. Like, that looks
like-
good. That looks good. That looks good.
There's like
There's
30
probably tons of stuff I haven't seen.
Brent
Next,
sent me.
next, yeah.
Brent sent me a manageable amount of photos, and then Darren sent me like his whole camera roll, and then another camera roll. So, sorry, I'm trying to just quickly look through here and just find the best. So I want to show this one snake. I mean, this is where I have to admit this is one of my favorite snakes that I saw last year, and since its birth, let me just get into the right chat group. This snake, made by the man himself. Where is it? This is, of course, one of my favorite carpet pythons. That do you know that's a jag? It's a caramel granite jag,
It's
zebra
granite,
jag. Yeah.
Granite zebra jag.
Yes.
Mhm.
What happened to the other one? Wasn't there one that was just a granite zebra jag?
Yes. That one died actually. I couldn't
Ugh.
get that one eating.
It seems
Yeah,
like
I
they
didn't-
start to struggle with these more and more and more. Is it? Do you think are you going to make them again this year, Eric?
This year, no, but next year, yes. Yeah.
Why not this year? Using it for something else. You're making those bread lies.
Well, I thought I was going to
It
be
wasn't in the book.
and wanted to keep the season light, but that didn't work out. So
what is it? Is that a male? That one?
which one?
The-
The one you like?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a male. Yeah.
That is that is something to look forward to. I mean, I can't.
I'm going to
wait.
put that to a caramel granite zebra.
Yeah,
See what
and make supers.
Mm-hmm. Try to. I love that granite super zebra.
It's like this snake that everybody that I even said to Brent, don't do it, it's not gonna work, And then in Australia we had 2 of them hatch last year. You know the patternless, the super zebra.
Super zebra, yeah, the
Yeah.
albino.
How's that? Is that still going all right? Are you making them again this year, Brent? That's a question.
Maybe I still haven't fully locked down everything yet. I think I will do that pairing because not only that came out of that clutch, there was 2 or 3 other crazy bright looking things that. So I'm sure it's just the jungle blood mixed into it, but some beautiful albino zebras and even just a couple of the sibs. The normal things were just mental. So
Yeah.
probably repeat pairing that one. That one's going well. Loves food. Started on mice, now eats rats, eats everything. It's growing well. So keen to see it with some size on it for sure.
And of course, this is also a firm favorite of mine. Always.
The albino granite, yes, beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
It's, don't know if we
rich.
can claim that as Australia, but it's certainly one of my favourites of
Hey.
beautiful snakes I own.
I broke some extreme laws to get that shit here, so don't don't discredit that. They were major. They were penalties paid to get those puppies into not that the original. Way
No,
back,
the
you know, not the. That was all. Let's just clear that up. That's all above board. That
I started with legit heads, did the hard yards, made visuals.
Yeah, like everything else in Australia. I mean, you guys, I think the fact that you can get your stuff in from Europe, I mean, that helps. There's a lot of the stuff from Paul Harris and Star Pythons, and I mean, I don't even know the big players. It looks like Nick's just. I think Nick's just dominating. Who are the big
but
guys?
the stuff that we can't get is the stuff I want. Like I want an albino coastal. Like it's killing me because
I don't even know if they're around. I don't know. Does anybody know still?
Just want them, yeah. And then like Eric's like imbricata, he wants just more of those or some of them. So it's that kind of stuff. So we are spoiled because we do get a lot of stuff from Europe and other places like that if a morph pops up there. But so we always can't have, silver peppers. I won't break that down so bad. So, and I don't even have inlands right now. So that kind of stuff.
Out.
Yeah, it's like
It's crazy.
I did not want an Owen CarpetPython until I came to Australia. Now I'm like, I could totally convert this room for Owen CarpetPython. Like they just need to get here, God damn it! So it's that kind of stuff.
I just have to comment on this snake. This snake is just that's super evil looking. I can imagine that.
Yeah.
All types of bad vibes going on with that. Look at it. That thing is ready to destroy you. I know when they have that really stiff, tight body posturing, that means I want you to come just a little bit closer so I can taste your blood. You know. Crazy. So is that the one in the picture, or is this the one that you
That's
don't have?
the one that died. Yeah.
And that is
the one in the picture was.
There's another one. I've got this. Yeah, this one here.
No, that's the same one. This is the one in the.
That's still. I mean, that is. So what is that? That's caramel zebra jag, caramel zebra granite jag.
That is. Yeah. I think that didn't have caramel in it.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe not
think
jag. Is that a jag? I don't know if that looks like a jag though either.
Oh yeah, it was Jag.
Yeah, oh, it had the
Just
it had the.
You could
Yeah,
tell by the way
yeah.
it moved. It was Jag. Yeah.
Oh,
The
okay.
one that you like is the next picture I just sent.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to see that animal in person again because that's nuts. That picture.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
one of my favorites.
Which one was that now? This
You know the
is-
yellow, the one you said that you really like.
Oh, okay.
The one
yeah.
I just sent. That was it as a baby.
That,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
I
that
don't
as a
know
baby.
why this has changed now. The layout on the screen, but that's okay. I'll figure it out. Yeah, awesome. Let me just go through. Darren had some other stuff here.
Whatever striped that. What's that large striped one, Darren?
Yeah, I don't know.
The one below the
this,
pepper.
This is another one yet. that
It's a pure coastal.
look
Yeah,
at that.
pure
Yes.
coastal. Yeah.
Give me that. That done. Yes. Dear God.
I'll
I
take
was
a
actually-
couple
I
of
was
those
actually,
as well.
I'm about to sell that guy because I've actually got his kits, and I should get photos of those. The girls, hypo-ish you could say, and the boys much darker. So, yeah, I'm gonna hopefully. I've got them paired up at the moment. Haven't seen any action, so I'm going to separate them. It might be a little bit early yet, but yeah, I want to hold some of them back and do some more work with those.
Yeah, but that's awesome. And the problem is that we had striped lines in the United States that might have resembled this.
Wasn't
But-
Anthony Caponetto had stuff that looked like that?
Yeah, they did. But the problem is that a lot of the striped lines were also crossed with Jason Balin's tiger stuff. So
Oh.
we lost a lot of the striped
Oh.
lines because it was just all enveloped into tiger. I mean, we used to have distinct animals that had different like size banded stripes and things like that, but now it's like you have the tiger head pattern and the big broad stripe down the back. You don't get the thin ones. So
Yeah, but
I
stuff.
like the thin stripe.
Are you guys at the point where you find it difficult when you're hatching stuff out of what it is?
Well, I've had that
Multi-theme,
issue for a
yes.
different reason.
Okay. Like meaning like what morphs are in that combination?
Yeah.
Yep.
I've had that issue with a particular clutch, and that's because I haven't seen the mutations before. So I did, in part of the Pepper projects, I've done Pepper over Jag and Pepper over Zebra. So I have Zebra hets and I have Jag hets. Last season I was trying to do very specific pairings. I peppered a Jag het and peppered a Zebra het, and I was having no success with the male I was using. So I went, you know what? I'll throw the Zebra boy in, and he went nuts. He was like, yeah, bring on the girl. So he actually sided.
Everyone, yeah.
Oh yeah. So I put him in with the Zebra het. So I put a Jag het over the Zebra girl, and I put the Zebra boy over 2 Jag girls, and they all produced a clutch. And things hatching. I'm like, okay, that looks like a Zeb Jag, but that looks different. Is that? So you're getting, obviously you have Zebs, you have Jags, you have Zeb Jags in the clutch, but then I don't know what the pepper gene does to the Zebra pattern. I don't know what it does to the Jag pattern and so on and so forth. So I'm looking at it going, wow, some of these look pretty cool, but what is it? I got no idea what I'm looking at.
That's hard
because
life, isn't it?
I can't reference it to, like, you hatch a granite. What's a granite jail like? Oh, look in the States. Oh, they got one of those. That's what it looks like. What's a caramel granite look like? I don't have a reference point. So it's rather frustrating because I'd love to be able to say, oh, this is that, but I don't know what it is. So this season I'm doing very specific pairings, whether they take or not, to try and work it out. So if I just do pepper over a het Jag, if you get the different phenotypes in the clutch, you're going to go, oh, okay, there's a wild type, there's a pepper, there's a Jag. This other one must be a pepper Jag. Now I know what that looks like.
Right.
I can then go back to what I've hatched previously and go, oh, okay, now I can see what's going on here.
Right.
So, and some are I actually think I accidentally flicked one of the photos through into the pile of stuff I sent to my niece, actually. There was one, but I'm
Hang
like,
on,
oh,
I'll be back. I'll be back. hang on.
you probably won't pick it, but
Oh,
yeah.
I probably will. I don't know.
And that, we're only talking a few genes, but
Yeah.
yeah, not knowing what it is.
Did you hatch more than one albino Murray?
Yeah, that
'Cause
photo
they
you
look
put up
different.
before of the striped pepper,
Yeah.
one of the last ones I sent you. I have a female that looks the same as that albino, or sorry, albino that looks. But of course, the albino, the pattern is very, very hard to tell.
Yeah.
And she feeds like a champion. She's an absolute trooper, pummeling in the food. And as it's growing, the pattern is just starting to come through. And I've been, as Brent knows, I've been on the fence. Yes, it had the solid red eyes, the blood red eyes, and everything else. But I'm like, I can't really tell from the pattern. And with the double hets, you're seeing a lot of this striping and breaking up of the pattern, and almost steering away from the pure pepper type patterning. So yeah, it was like not until now that the more I look at it, the more convinced I am that it's another albino pepper, but taking on the different style of peppering compared to like that guy.
And then you look at this in just the normal stock standard pepper, and you go, bloody crap! That must be one of the originals. That looks like it's a big old snake. Man, that's a crazy looking. Maybe you've got me all now. Now I need to. It'd probably be a picture, and I'm trying to troubleshoot this situation with this picture that it's probably one that doesn't have writing on it.
Because that's the problem. Some of them are so similar. I'm not sure if it is or it isn't, and I don't want to say it is because it might not be. And that's the frustrating part. Like you want to share it, but you look at one thing. Oh, it looks like a zebjag, but then when you kind of look at it in more detail and look at the facets of what you deem a zebjag, and you go, well, hang on, it's got those properties, but then there's a couple other things that just don't quite add up. Now, I don't know if that's just the polygenic side of the Murray Darling line coming through and coming out, or whether it's a pepper that's having the breakup of the pattern. It's
right.
More gene pool to work with.
I need to know this. I need to know which photo this is now. Hang on.
This is going to bother him.
I'm like, come on. Okay, I'll figure it out. I'll post it later.
And this, I'll send these through too. This was these are the, talking about that 88% Jags I was making, het pepper. Like, that's one there from that girl you put up before, the black and white type looking Jag.
Yeah. Let me just see. I'm jumping. There's so many. Oh, gee, look at that.
That's one of them that is coming from that line.
So reduced, isn't it? Hang on, look at that. It's so white. You look at
very Jag. Yeah.
It's so white, so reduced. But I mean, I think the next 5 years is going to be a crazy 5 years for carpet pythons in Australia. I just have the funny with you when you start rolling out the stuff that you're making this year, along with Brent and the granite stuff that he'll be making over the next 5 years. I can't think of other mutations that would be as exciting as the stuff that's about to be introduced. And it would be a few years off. I mean, because we know that you just hoard everything. And Jared Sharp and Jared Sharp's with his anery stuff that he's working with and trying to figure out how that works. There's new stuff coming. I mean, it's been a bit quiet out of UK pythons. I mean, Paul Harris and I don't know if Nick's got his stonewash breadlie stuff, but then where's the roof of what you can do with breadlie? That when you guys don't put it into other mutations and stuff.
That last photo I sent through, that was for Owen to keep him all happy.
Oh yeah,
that's breadlie as well. That's caramel exanthic breadlie.
Oh dear God.
Wow. So that obviously a het, but they'll be on this season.
Different color.
I think as more combos of breadlie become more available, like hypo stonewash and hypo stripe stonewash and stuff like that, you're going to see people branching out into other projects that they can do with their breadlie. I mean, people saw the Scream Jag, and then everybody kind of started trying to do Brettle Jags, and then they weren't really impressed with the first round, so some people just kind of quit. So I think you'll see more of that kind of stuff, and there will be different combinations, but I don't know. You don't see it, and it's almost like certain projects in the U.S. that we do it, we get it, and then we're like, done, we finished. No further, no other breedings, because people really pushed hard to get super zebras, but now that we have super zebras, like, where's the refinement? Make that yellow burn my eyeballs, like that's and it kind of seems like it's not really there. I don't know if people just don't like the tail thing that keeps happening, or they are venturing off into other projects.
But Owen, we also thought that in Australia, we because a lot of us just copied what was going on over there, and pairings were made. But then early on, we realized that Brent made super zebras that they was, it seems like we can make beautiful tailed super zebras here.
Mm-hmm.
We can make albino super zebras. We've increased the yellows in the zebra jags and stuff, and we talk about that all the time on the show, the refinement. So get by the snakes, and then you work on the traits that you like, and you perpetuate that look through your bloodlines, and eventually you end up 10, 20 years down the line, you end up with snakes that are so different, and they're uniquely your line because they look visibly different. I think people are just lazy. I think a lot of people don't, like Nick with his ivory jungles, 20 years in the making or more, and they look white. They're like paper. But how many people even stay in the hobby that long to do that with the animals? Come on,
Not many.
We all see the heroes that come and go, and we see the pretenders and the guys that buy in and leave because they think it's the same as the ball pythons or whatever. So I mean, the longevity I don't think is in it for a lot of the guys, and you can see it like some of that axanthic, that caramel axanthic thing that I just showed Owen from you, Darren. That's different.
Yeah.
I haven't seen something like that before. Like, I mean, that's
just the start of the project. You're right. Like, you look back in how long albino Darwin's been out. 12 years, 13 years, something like that. A bit longer, maybe. Whatever it is. And one eye opener when I went to the States was you look at, obviously there's so many mutations in ball pythons, but I was looking at albinos, and they've got high yellows and high whites and high contrasts, and all these different variations within the same gene. And even though we're 12, 15 years here with albino Darwins, no one out here has done anything with them. They're just being bred and used for other projects. And I'm working on a line myself, and I know Alex Leith is working on a stripe line himself. He's got some nice ones as well. But everyone else is just, I just want an albino Darwin because I'm going to put it into this, put it into that, and put it into something else. And I think they're so interested in combining all the genes that they lose, I guess, a polygenic focus of what can actually be done with the animals. Like, you want to put that albino into an axanthic. Well, is it a high contrast axanthic, nice black and whites, like one of the ones I sent you a photo of? It is more of a dull looking axanthic. Is the albino, high yellow, high white? There's banded ones, there's striped ones. There's a whole lot of variations you can use to create a snow.
Look at that.
But I don't think it matters. That's another striped pepper.
Look at that. Crazy.
But a lot of that just goes out of the window. So, like the fluoro zebjag I put up, I don't mix any other genes in those lines. I don't put albino. I don't put axanthic, and I haven't at this point in time because I want to make the best black and gold zebras and zebjags and jags I can make. And they're just, I've got some over here, some babies from last season that are just white, like the jags are just white as, and they're going to be absolute crackers, once they get going. But it seems to be something that just gets skipped. People just kind of, they want a jag, they want to put it with this, they want to do that without any thought process of to what it is they're actually working with and where they want that project to end up. It just gets lost, I think.
Yeah, and they get buried in the morphs because, I mean, Todd has striped Darwin line. It's not albino, it's striped Darwin. And Eric and I, every time we see him, we're like, oh God, yet neither one of us has ever bought into it. Yeah.
I tried to. They're just not available.
I know. He'll be the one that usually gets it. I'll just have to go buy that so that I make him buy the stuff so that I know where to get it later on when he gets success with it, so that I don't have to buy it. And he can do, like, one of us is in love with coastals, but the other one has the hypocoastals.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting. So it's just biding my time. It's But that's just the
Yeah.
way it is. Where the refinement gets buried in the achieving of the morph. And what people kind of don't understand is that if you make the base of it really kick ass and then make the morph, it's
Yeah.
going to be really nice. It's and I know Eric's got that Black IJ project. How long you been working on that one?
Oh my gosh, 2012. It's been
Yeah.
something like that.
He keeps all of them because it's a
Yes,
project. that's working.
hoarders for the win.
Yeah. So
You have to. Yeah.
100%. You have to. I don't think. Sometimes people take on these projects and don't realise. They go, "Oh wow, look at this cool stuff you produce." But it's like, yeah, do you know how many animals that I've held back to work to make sure that I'm picking out the best of that clutch? A lot of, even if you take your humble black and gold jungle, often, with a bit of experience, you can tell what's going to be better generally when they hatch out. But you still want to hold them because it changes. One day you look at that and go, "Oh, that doesn't look crash hot," and then suddenly, 5 sheds later in 3 months, it's like, "Holy shit, what happened there?" Like,
yeah,
Right.
you were pretty
That's-
average coming out of the egg, but now you are starting to go places, and you have to hold. Like, you hold on. You got to wait and see what happens as the animal develops. Give
Yeah,
it 12 months. Give it 18 months if you can.
You have
Pick
to
the
hold it.
best,
Yeah.
and your future stock, and you're on your way.
They call that.
Worst
that
thing is
they
to
call.
just give that animal to a friend of yours, because then he will torture you with pictures of it for the rest of your lives. Because
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, Eric wants a caramel. Here you go, buddy. And then it's just like, God damn it, it was one of the best ones I ever produced, and it's
Yeah.
at his house.
The
So
regret.
it's like, yeah,
Oh,
and
We all have
The white
regret. I'm
caramel.
sure all of us have got
Yeah.
regret of stuff that we've sold.
exactly.
But
But
people go,
it's worse when you give it to a friend, because
Yeah.
then they start doing stuff, and you're like, oh, son of a bitch. Like, it's like, that's
Mm.
I'm happy for you, and that's awesome, but God, that just stings. So Yep.
Oh, did you see the photo? It shed the other day.
Hey, if you
Yeah,
guys,
I
I
sent
know-
him the picture, and he's just like,
you did you
"What?"
bastard.
I know. I know it's late where you guys are. Just yell, and it's gone almost 3 hours, 2 hours and 45 minutes. So
Nice.
just let us know if you guys need to head off. I know it's late. Where you go? What's the time? sir?
Eric turns to dust at midnight, so
Yeah.
that's just
Oh,
something you have to worry
are you
about
a-
with him.
Is that Stardust?
Are you?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's how he gets the diamonds.
That is such a dad joke, isn't it? Is
It's a dead joke because kids don't get it.
are you working tomorrow, Eric?
I am.
Oh, he's a essential
I
worker.
have
Don't
work
you love
at
it?
6 a.m.
Beautiful. So it's going to be our mission to keep you awake as long as we can.
He doesn't need sleep. It's not like there are riots going on out in front of his workplace
It's
that he might
Yeah.
have to traverse.
it's like
Yeah, right.
Nah.
it's like
I
that.
think.
Yeah,
I
go.
think though I would say this, and you guys are talking about like, people don't understand how to work a project and all that. And I think that's why this show, our podcast, all those podcasts that are out there helps people understand exactly what goes into these things, and you get a little insight into all these different breeders. And even if you just take a little nugget from an episode, I mean,
Yeah.
it's priceless. It's like going to school almost.
Yeah, I think it's.
You're getting taught by the best.
But I think it's but you get a lot of people get stuck on that thing. They go, oh, but they're talking about Antaresia today, or they're talking about beardies today, or they're talking about corn snakes, or they're talking about crebos, or they're talking about gaboon adders. And it's not about that. It's about, there's always something that you could go, okay.
Yeah.
There's something you can apply from what somebody's going to say something in an hour chat that you're going to go, it's going to let a light bulb go off, and you're going to say, okay, well, I wonder if I can apply that to what I'm doing, and you can go and do it, and
Right.
it works. Why not?
Right.
It's for
Sure.
free. I mean, this stuff's all for free. When we're not getting, none of us are getting paid for this. It's
Oh,
free.
what?
3 hours of our
I'm not getting
life.
paid.
See ya.
Okay, just stop the show.
Just
Yeah,
get this there. And-
But you guys don't get paid for Morelia. I mean, you got your view, you got your listens and stuff on there. But it's from what I know about this stuff, man. You have to have millions. I mean, the snake hobby is never going to be like Joe Rogan and his podcast. People aren't going to. Millions of people aren't going to tune.
no.
So it's not like we're getting a monetary. Like we're not going to get rich off sharing our knowledge, but.
No.
I think it's important that it's out there, and I try and say it every show. It's better out there than going to our graves one day.
Right.
You know? And
We're all
it's
rich
our-
enough from all the snakes we sell anyway. We don't need
Oh,
YouTube.
that's
mate.
right. Billionaires.
Wait. You can
Billionaires.
sell the snakes?
Yeah.
It-
Is there money in snakes? I didn't know.
Yeah,
that.
weird. But it's almost like what you were saying, like you can learn some things. Like I listened on a podcast once about feeding fish to colubrids, crebos, beauty snakes. I got some of my carpet pythons to take fish. I'm like, here you go. And they just nailed it. I'm like, whatever. So, I mean,
Ah.
Yeah.
there's a bunch of stuff that you can maybe you listen to and you don't apply it because you're thinking like that doesn't qualify for my animals. But then you try it and it's like, oh shit, they took it.
It
Whatever,
works.
it
Mm.
works.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like when we had David Evans on the show, and he was telling us about his no medium incubation, and I was just sitting there going, "What?
Yeah.
We're measuring out, what we all got medium, measuring the humidity, doing this." And he said he's got this tub with snake eggs in it, nothing else, and just making sure they don't roll around, and it's making condensation on the sides of the incubation tub. And I'm like, what?
Making its own.
And we've been told
Wow.
you need to be buried in vermiculite, covered,
Yeah.
50-50.
If there's-
measuring
we need
with
to have
Right.
yeah.
the foot
Mhm.
fungus powder on it. If there's fungus, rub it off. And then there's these eggs there in an open tub in an incubator with no medium. They're a little bit shriveled, he says. If you can stand, if you can work your way through watching these eggs get all sunken in, he said they get to a point and they just stop. And I'm like, that's something I'll try. One day. One day I'll try that for sure. Wouldn't try. I wouldn't try it with a very expensive clutch of anything.
I'll
We have to
only
be
give it a- I'll only
sensible.
give it a crack this year on a few clutches.
You've got-
I'm going to do some maternal incubation as well. I'm always been hesitant when you're working with stuff, but I'm like, I haven't heard any bad reports ever through people that have actually done maternal incubation, and everything you hear is positive.
Yeah.
There's no like, it is what it is. The babies come out good. They're fully absorbed yolks and everything else. So I'm very keen to give that a crack, and also do a dry incubation.
It's
So-
just a scary process. I think you've got to do it and get past
Commit.
that
You have to commit to it.
control factor
Yeah.
where you watch
Yeah.
eggs go 75 days and you think it's dead. They look terrible. They're sucked in. They're dirty. Everything's wrong with it. And then out come babies. So it's, you
And
just
they
need
just
to,
like
let
what's
nature
going on?
happen.
Yeah.
I forgot to plug in my incubator one year and put a clutch in there.
Yeah.
And yeah. See, he loves that story.
The story.
But
I do.
it's like
We've all
Because
heard
it's
that story.
amazing.
Yeah.
they hatched. It took them 80 something days, but they hatched
got it
and they were
done.
fine.
And they ate
Yeah,
well.
it's like-
They ate and they did everything normal. How were they good on
I
the
have,
food?
it took them a while to get going, which I don't know if that was just me or because they're incubation, but I ended up keeping 2 of them.
Yeah.
They're fine. They eat everything in sight. They're growing great and all this other stuff, but it literally was like an experiment that I didn't mean to do. Well, I'm like, and now we know that you can incubate them at 81 degrees. It just takes a while. So yeah.
My very first clutch ever incubated was bearded dragons back in the day, and I'm like, no idea. I got some beardies off a guy, and he's like, just feed them, just feed them, shovel food in them, just don't stop feeding them. And I bred them at a year of age, these bearded dragons, and I actually rang the guy and I said, I think something's wrong. He's like, why? What's up? And I'm like, it's got all these lumps in its belly. And I'd never seen a gravid bearded dragon, in my life. And he's like, it's gravid. I'm like, what do you mean? It's going to have eggs. I'm like, what do I do? And same thing. He goes, get a tub, get some vermiculite, 50-50 by weight, water. And he said, just put them in, sit in there so they don't roll around. So I did that, and like, now what do I do with them? He goes, put them in your incubator. What's an incubator? I don't have one of those. He goes, oh, just chuck them up on top of your fridge. And that's what I did. I chucked them up on top of my fridge and left them there, and they all hatched. All hatched. I
Crazy.
didn't time it because I didn't didn't even think of it. And that was,
Wow.
12 months of keeping lizards. I'm like, oh. Then after that, I was a bit need to read up about this.
And no, a little
We
bit
didn't have
of read the
Facebook or
manual.
Insta-
Read the
didn't have
manual.
Facebook or all that sort of stuff back then.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay.
You
So I
don't-
was like, I need
You don't have one of those posts of need incubator ASAP. One of those
Yeah.
posts.
No,
Oh,
I made my first incubator out of timber and put light bulbs down the bottom, and then worked
Yeah.
out that wasn't very good. And yeah, it changed, but yeah,
Or just
you look
low,
back, it's amazing what they can actually.
emergency
Go through.
mission,
Yeah.
emergency mission with a tub of eggs to your mate's house.
Yeah.
Isn't that what happened with
Come
one
on,
of you
Eric.
guys?
Come on, Eric. Do it.
Oh yeah.
Not ready
So-
for this.
So because I wanted to not be stuck in the afraid to do the maternal incubation, the first year I bred carpets, I decided I was going to go all maternal incubation.
Oh,
I had 3 clutches, 2 zebra jag clutches, and 1 IJ clutch. So the zebra jag at the time was new to the States, and this was like one of the first clutches to be hatched in the States. So I'm all excited. I bred it to a tiger. I'm like, I'm going to make zebra jag tigers and stripes, and it's going to be great and everything.
Yeah.
And right, I go in and do it, and I just come off of the success of the IJ. It was perfect. Maternal incubation was perfect. And here comes the tiger. So there's like 1 egg outside of the coil, and I'm in a panic. I'm calling Owen. I'm calling, a couple other guys. I'm like, what do I do? They're like, pull the clutch. I'm like,
oh,
okay.
yeah.
But I don't have an incubator. What? I'm like, Owen, can I put these snakes in your incubator? Yeah, I guess so. Okay. Wait a minute. It's snowing outside. How do I get these eggs from my house to your house, which is 15 minutes away? So I wrap them all up in a styrofoam box, and I put a whole bunch of towels into the dryer, and I ran it on the dryer to try to keep them warm a little bit. And I put it around it and wrapped it, and yeah, they all hatched out.
That's all
but
right. So
No
you
pressure.
went
No
all
pressure.
in.
Maternal incubation failure.
I'm gonna do this, and to stop me from getting the eggs out, I'm just gonna get rid of my incubator.
that's what I
that's
did. I'm like,
committing.
Yeah,
I'm
you got to do
going all
just
the
throw it
way.
out. Yeah.
No safety net.
That's I like it. Jump out of a plane. Hope you have no safety parachute. You just go. Like there we go.
And that was the funny thing is, I think about like a week later, Eric's IJs were hatching, and he puts up a picture on Facebook, and he's like, maternal incubation success. And then I take a picture of his eggs in my incubator, and I'm like, failure. Like it's just,
I remember that. Yeah, it was funny.
yeah. So
Hey, let's. I think it's 3. We can do another chat, but I don't want Eric to stay up too late. But I think 3 hours is also a long time. I see the viewers are. It's a long time. It'll be a long time for people to
Coming up.
stay focused,
Sleepy.
And I know there's lunches and stuff like that, but I just wanted to. I think it's a good first show for an international
Yeah.
you guys have done a few international what do you call it, what do you call it, a cooperative, or because you've been on Reptile and Chill, you've done a few of these podcasts
yeah.
across the
yeah,
world.
I go and cause trouble with them, and then I'm not allowed back for a couple months.
Yeah,
and then
that's it.
go cause trouble with them. Yeah.
They slightly
So-
more rough around the edges on that show though, but it's still good content. So different crowds to entertain. But I just wanted to say thanks to say thanks to you guys, Eric, Owen. Thanks for coming on. Brent,
Yeah.
Darren, always a pleasure. And we'll probably be doing a lot more of this. Hopefully, we've been talking, Eric and I. As soon as you guys know when your flights are, why are you not coming again, Owen? What's wrong? What is the
Because
excuse? I knew it took 5 to how many years did it take to get him to come over the first time, and then he came and he's
several years. But
He
now,
might be
now
the-
now I'm broken getting married, so there's like I can't this time. So
sell a few
I'll,
snakes. Huh?
to swing by next time. So
So we had a
My teleporter's broken. No, but sorry.
like you son of a- oh no!
Eric,
Hey.
is yours working?
those silver peppers aren't going to
Wow,
get
it
to you on
is.
their own, you know.
I told Eric he's not allowed to go on a rough scale expedition without me, and like, so far
never
he's
mind.
good. So he says next year I got to get my act together. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, those silver peppers aren't going to get to your house on their own steam. I mean, you have to
Yeah,
come
no,
and
it's-
visit them. Okay, you know, they're just down there's a little area right here where you can just stick it down and just walk straight and just keep going. You know, don't
I'm,
worry.
wa- I'm
Don't look
waiting,
something.
waiting for Eric to just be like, so I got the imbricata. How did you don't ask questions? Okay. So yeah.
Come over to my house. I've got something to show you. What?
What?
I can't discuss it
Nothing.
on the phone. Can't discuss it on the phone.
They could be listening. What? So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, and don't send pictures on Facebook. They watch. You know, just some tips from me. But thank you for coming on. We'll have a quick say goodbye. I just wanted to log off, and I'm just going to mute you guys quickly. Sorry, this is a process. And oh no, hang on. We didn't do something. So if somebody, let's do the old Morelia Python logo. So if somebody wanted to find, where's the sound gone, Owen?
I
There
think
we
you
go.
muted
I
me.
just
or
muted you
something like
again.
that.
So if somebody wanted to find you to check out what you guys are up to, where can they find you? Whichever one of you want to say, go ahead.
Eric
Got the
goes
floor.
first. Eric always goes first. So-
For the podcast, MoreliaPythonRadio.net. That's our website.
Yep.
You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff.
And there's an archive of 480 plus shows that you can go and delve into. I'll probably upload this, if you guys don't mind. I'll upload the sound side of this to the CarpetPython TV channel as well, because people are saying, oh, it's too long, we can't watch, because you have to have the Facebook app open on your phone to watch it, and then as soon as you close, you can't listen to this, watch this stuff at
I've
work.
run into those problems.
Yeah, so I'll upload the sound clip onto Anchor or whatever, so you guys, and it should be on Spotify. I know Anchor's involved, and Spotify bought them over, so you should be able to see all that stuff there. Website for you, Eric, to see the snakes and stuff that you're working on.
ebmorelia.com.
Yeah. Owen, you.
rogue-reptiles.com.
Brent, you.
khpreptiles.com.au.
And Darren
Morelia by design.
on Facebook.
and Instagram. Yep.
Yeah. So thank you guys. Let me just now we'll do this again. So I'll just mute you, and then I'll be back with you within like 2 minutes. Okay. Well, thank you for joining in. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We did try a nice a little bit of Saturday reptile talk. And we'll see you guys on the next show next Friday. I think I've got Darren Boswell. Let me just double check what the calendar says. Sorry, I didn't have that prepared. I think it's Darren that's coming on. Let me just check. Thank you for giving us a bit of time for you. Okay, yes, it's going to be Darren Boswell. Let me just check. Sorry. Yep, Darren Boswell next Friday night at 8:30, and then we'll see you guys there. Thanks a lot for the time. Have a great weekend with the family and everything, and have enjoy whatever you got planned, and then we'll see you guys next time.